This broadcast is entirely fictional. All names, characters, locations, and events are products of imagination, created only for storytelling and dramatic effect. Any similarities to real people, places, or situations are purely coincidental. The content is not meant to harm, insult, or single out any person, group, community, or belief. Listener discretion is advised. Drop a comment. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I don't know why it's so satisfying to read where people are watching from at 2:37 a.m., but it is. My name doesn't really matter anymore. Maybe it never did. What matters is that you're hearing this, that something inside the wires still carries a voice through the dark. You're tuned to what's left of the radio, broadcasting from a place that barely stands, in a world that barely moves. I don't know how far this signal reaches. I don't know who's out there. But if you're listening, then we're not completely alone. Not yet. It's 9:23 at night. The temperature's still sitting at 108 degrees. No wind, no birds. Just a heavy heat that clings to your lungs like wet cloth. I'm speaking to you from what used to be a basement records room beneath the old federal courthouse in Springfield, Missouri. Power's gone, obviously. Everything runs off this half-dead solar array and an old marine battery we rewired last week. If the signal cuts out mid-sentence, that's probably why. I've got 2 fans running to keep the equipment from melting, and I've poured out the last of my cold water hours ago. The floor is sticky. My hands are trembling. Not from fear, not exactly, but because I haven't slept in 2 days. No one really sleeps anymore. You just sort of rest with your eyes open and hope the walls don't move while you're lying still. This broadcast, it's not official. It's not licensed. I'm not here on behalf of any surviving government, if there even is one. This station was put together with salvaged parts, backup drives, an old VHF transmitter, and a whole lot of spit and wire. You're not hearing a polished show. You're hearing a man with a microphone in the middle of the ruins, trying to help whoever's left breathe through another night. The fires started 11 days ago, maybe 12. Time's strange now. The days blur. The nights feel endless. All I know is that one night I went to sleep thinking the worst of it was behind us, and by morning, half the sky was burning. Nobody said it outright. Not on the official networks, not on the feeds, but the writing was on the wall. And now, most of those walls are gone. The first thing I noticed was the silence. You never think silence can be loud until it shows up in a city. No engines, no kids, no planes overhead, no low hum of power lines. Just nothing. Like someone pressed mute on the whole country. Then the power went. All at once, like it had been waiting to die for years, and finally gave in. No warning. 1 minute you're scrolling through rerouted news bulletins about peace talks in Berlin. The next minute your screen goes black and doesn't come back. Phones went right after. First the towers started blinking out, then the satellites. Then the app started feeding you gibberish, like the whole internet was going senile. Someone I knew, an old tech at the local station, said the GPS grid was getting hijacked, sending coordinates in circles. He said if you tried to follow your own trail back home, you'd just end up in the middle of nowhere. Then came the heat. That was the part nobody predicted. Not like this. Triple digits every day. No rain. Lakes steaming in the sun. People passed out in their cars. Asphalt melting into syrup. I watched a man's sneakers stick to the sidewalk while he tried to run. The last live government address came from what was left of the Department of Homeland Security. It lasted 3 minutes. The guy read off a prepared statement like someone had a gun to his back. Something about maintaining calm and localized disruptions. He didn't even blink when he said coordinated strikes, didn't even pause, just stared ahead like the words weren't real. Then the screen cut to static. Never came back. There's a man, I won't use his real name. Let's call him Andrew. He used to work at an air base in Kansas, retired 3 years ago. He was one of the people who kept track of what flew overhead, what launched from where, what left the surface and didn't come back. I spoke to him the night the silence began. He said, "They pulled the plug on us before the lights even went out." Said someone higher up sent a kill command through secure lines, wiped out systems coast to coast, not just power grids, but satellite uplinks, military communications, emergency backup protocols, as if someone was expecting the retaliation before the first strike even hit. According to him, we weren't attacked in the usual sense, not a foreign power, not some rogue nation. It was an economic suicide pact. The global currency markets collapsed after the last peace deal failed in Brussels. Nobody would back U.S. bonds. The dollar fell. Then someone, he thinks it was one of our own defense algorithms, triggered an automated countermeasure, something written into a black budget decades ago. He said it was called Fallback Atlas, a scenario where the country cuts itself off from the world to prevent foreign control. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if he does either. But nothing makes sense anymore, so maybe everything does. The highways are frozen now, not in ice, in metal. Just miles and miles of abandoned cars, people who tried to get out when it first started. Some made it a few miles. Some didn't even make it to the next off-ramp. There's a stretch of I-44 west of here that looks like a graveyard. Doors left open, windows shattered, ashes where people burned inside when the heat hit 117 and their air conditioners died. Springfield was never a big city, just big enough to have 3 hospitals and 1 television station. Now there's none. Mercy burned down on day 4. Cox North lost power 2 days later. The backup generators kept failing under the heat. The morgue overflowed, then the basement flooded, and people started dragging beds out onto the parking lot. That's where they treated people, on the asphalt, under tarps, while the sun cooked the pavement underneath them. I saw a woman, maybe 40, holding a plastic jug of water over a boy's mouth, just drops at a time, crying, not loud, not sobbing, just eyes wide and tears rolling down like her body didn't know how to shut it off anymore. The boy wasn't moving. She poured the last of it out and then just sat there beside him, staring at nothing. I wanted to help. I really did. But I was out too. The National Guard showed up on day 6. At least that's who we thought they were. No flags, no names. Just unmarked uniforms, black helmets, heavy gear. They shut down the bridge, blocked both ends, started turning people back. Someone shouted from the crowd, asking where they were taking the trucks of supplies. Nobody answered. Then a shot rang out, and the screaming started. I didn't see what happened next. I ran. There's something about the way the air smells now. Not just smoke. Not just rot. It's thick, metallic, like the world is bleeding under the surface. People walk slower now. They talk less. You don't hear laughter anymore. Just rustling, coughing, the occasional argument that cuts off before you hear how it ends. A man called in last night. Said he was in Oklahoma City, hiding in the basement of a burned-out library with his sister. Name was Leo. He said they saw a convoy headed east, 5 trucks, military grade, no plates, no escort. But inside, he swore, were civilians, tied up, gagged. No one was driving the 3rd truck, just moving like it was being controlled remotely. He said when they tried to follow from a distance, a drone appeared out of nowhere and hovered above them. No noise, no lights, just presence. They ducked inside and waited 3 hours before it left. If you're hearing this, Leo, I don't know where that convoy was headed, but you were right to stay hidden. This is the part where I'm supposed to give advice, tell you how to survive. Truth is, I'm figuring it out just like you. But here's what I know works. Get underground if you can. Not just because of the heat, but because whatever's in the air after the grid failure, it spreads slower below the surface. Boil everything, even rainwater. The cloud patterns have changed. I've seen orange rain twice now. Once it fell on a garden someone had started, and by the next day, every leaf was curled inward and blackened. Stick with people you trust, but don't stay in large groups. The ones that survived the first week learned that the hard way. One scream brings 10 more. One flashlight beam at the wrong time, and you don't get a second chance. Use radios, old ones, analog. If you find a hand crank set, hold on to it like gold. Digital networks are unreliable. Some might be traps. I intercepted a signal last night on 104.6 FM that kept repeating, "Evacuation point Alpha confirmed." No coordinates, no authentication, nothing else. I've heard that message before, months ago. Different voice, same words. If you hear it, don't follow it. Not unless you know the source. Food. Well, that's the big one. If you find cans, don't open them all at once. Rotate. Store anything dry in sealed containers and bury a backup cache. Rats are smarter now. They've learned how to pry open pop-tops. I'm not kidding. If you're diabetic or dependent on refrigeration, I don't have answers. The last insulin stock I saw was being guarded by a man with a rifle and a brick wall behind him. He wasn't sharing. People are changing, not just physically, psychologically. The stress, the heat, the hunger, it gets to you. You stop thinking in days, you start thinking in hours, then minutes, then just now. One man came in here 2 days ago, said he heard I had a working radio, asked if I could help him find his wife. I asked when he last saw her. He said, before the flash. Just those 3 words. Then he sat down and didn't say anything for 20 minutes. When he left his shoes behind. Just walked out barefoot into the heat. I keep broadcasting because I need to believe someone's listening. That someone out there is writing this down, keeping track, building a plan. That there's still some thread of a country left to rebuild. Maybe it's naive. Maybe I'm just filling the silence because it keeps the shadows from getting too close. But if you are out there, send a signal back. Doesn't have to be big. Doesn't have to be smart. Just enough to say, I'm still here. It's 10:02 now. I'm going to try to keep the line open until midnight, battery permitting. After that, I've got to ration. But I'll be back tomorrow night. Same band, same voice, same hell. Until then, stay low, stay cool, stay human. It's the next night, 9:47 p.m., and it's even hotter. The thermometer I rigged up on the studio wall is pinned at 112. Might be higher, honestly. The mercury's warped. The floor above me used to be a courtroom, cracked this afternoon. Not from a bomb or anything dramatic, just heat. The wood split like a rib cage under a boot. Dust came through the ceiling and turned the air into chalk. I've tied a wet rag over the mic to keep the dust from getting into the transmitter. My throat feels like I swallowed a cotton ball soaked in bleach. There's a noise I can't explain. Some kind of low, rhythmic hum under the floor. It started 2 hours ago. Doesn't sound mechanical. Doesn't sound human either. Just this slow, pulsing pressure, like something deep underground is breathing, real slow. I haven't told anyone else. I don't know who to tell. I saw something earlier, through the cracks in the blackout cloth I've got over the window well. A boy, couldn't have been older than 12, pushing a grocery cart uphill. The cart wasn't full of food, just batteries, stacks of them. AA, D cell, even those big lantern ones you only ever used in camping gear. He looked like he'd been walking for hours, shirt stuck to his back, skin red, lips cracked. Just pushing. I thought about calling out, but I didn't. And then he was gone, up the road, into the shimmer. We're not built for this heat. Not physically, not mentally. It cooks more than just skin. I read somewhere that once your brain reaches 104 degrees, logic starts slipping. You get confused, agitated, paranoid. You forget words. You hallucinate. And at 106, you stop being you. That's why people aren't just dying. They're unraveling, coming apart from the inside. A woman named Jean called in tonight. She's in Amarillo. Lives in what used to be a storage facility. Metal walls, concrete floors, no insulation. Said she keeps a lawn chair inside one of the units and sleeps on a layer of tin foil because it reflects just enough of the heat to keep her conscious. Not comfortable, just alive. She said yesterday she watched a group of kids break into a strip mall across the highway. They weren't looking for food. They went straight to the gun store, carried out everything they could hold. Rifles, shotguns, even a crossbow. No yelling, no laughter. Just business. Like kids picking out school supplies. She asked if I knew what kind of world those kids were growing into. I told her the truth. I don't. There used to be rules. You could count on certain things. Phones worked. Ambulances came. You could knock on someone's door and borrow a cup of sugar. Now, doors don't open. People don't ask for help because no one has anything left to give. I saw a fireball on the horizon this afternoon. Looked like a flare at first, but it didn't go up. It came down. Landed behind the hills east of town. The smoke that came after was black with a green tint, and it smelled like scorched wiring. No sound. Just a ripple through the ground like someone dropped a mountain from orbit. I haven't heard anything on the bands about it. But it's not the first one. 3 nights ago, someone out near Lincoln logged a similar impact. Described it the same way. Downward arc, green-black smoke, silence. Theories are all over the place. Some say it's old satellites falling back to Earth. Some think they're test payloads. Underground bunker busters triggered late or by mistake. But I talked to someone last week who used to work in environmental science. She said if those were just satellites, we'd be seeing debris. She thinks they're probes. From where? She didn't say. I don't know. I'm not here to spin stories. I'm here to track what I can. Every night, more signals go dark. Not just big ones, not just stations, ham operators, shortwave hobbyists, local weather stations, gone. Some burn out fast, some fade slow, like a candle drowning in its own wax. There was a guy in Duluth who used to read out old baseball stats at the same time every night. Like clockwork. He hasn't broadcast in 3 days. I miss hearing his voice. It made the dark feel less empty. Got a message scratched into the wall outside the courthouse door this morning. Block letters. Still here. Signal strong. Moving east. No name. No date. Just that. I'm choosing to take it as a good sign. Someone made it this far and kept going. That's something. If you're the one who wrote it, I saw it. I hear you. Keep moving. I've been thinking about what rebuilding even means. People keep tossing that word around like it's just a matter of stacking bricks again. But it's more than buildings. It's trust. It's knowing your neighbor won't take your last can of beans the second you turn your back. It's order. And right now, there is none. There's a rumor going around, unconfirmed, but I've heard it from 4 different sources in 4 different states. Supposedly, there's a group operating out of the mountains near Durango, Colorado. Not military, not government. Just survivors with tools, radios, and maps. They call themselves the Registry. Their goal, apparently, is to catalog what's left, who's alive, where they are, what they know. If you're a doctor, they want your name. If you know how to purify water, they want your method. If you've got blueprints for how to wire a town hall to a windmill, they want those too. I don't know if it's real, but I want it to be. Badly. If you're listening, Registry people, this mic's open. This frequency is clear. You can reach me. I want to read something I found in an old notebook today. Don't know who wrote it. Maybe someone from before the war, maybe after. Doesn't matter. It was scrawled in pencil on the back of a grocery receipt, shoved into the pages like a bookmark. Hope isn't a plan, but it's a reason to get up when the plan fails. Whoever wrote that, thank you. I've got a list of safe practices I want to run through before I lose power tonight. Some of these are common sense, but it's easy to forget things when the world's on fire. If you're boiling water, don't use plastic jugs. They leach chemicals into the water that'll make you sick. Use metal if you've got it. If your canned food is bloated, leaking, or smells metallic when you open it, don't eat it. Botulism is real, and there's no ER waiting to pump your stomach. Don't sleep on high ground during the day. Heat rises. Find shade. Dig down, or sleep underground if possible. Rotate your socks. I know that sounds stupid. But trench foot is making a comeback in places where people walk for miles without proper care. If someone knocks and won't speak, don't open the door. Not until they do. Not everyone out there is still thinking clearly. We've started to see changes, not just to people's minds, to their bodies. One caller from Des Moines said his cousin started bleeding from his gums after drinking from a river. Said his skin turned pale, veins rising under the surface like dark vines. I told him to leave. Get to higher ground. He said he would. I haven't heard back. Could be heat stroke. Could be something worse. Another caller, Anna from Billings, said something I can't shake. She said, "We lost the war before the first missile hit. We lost it when we believed we couldn't." I think about that a lot, about how strong we thought we were, how untouchable. Turns out, all it takes is a few keystrokes in a system no one understands anymore, and the sky falls in silence. My power's flickering. I'm gonna shut the fans for 10 minutes to save battery and finish this segment. I'll keep broadcasting as long as I can. If you're alive, if you're listening, if you've got breath in your lungs and a beat in your chest, then you matter. You are the blueprint now. You are the plan. Until tomorrow. If tomorrow comes, stay sharp. Stay sane. Stay human. It's 8:55 p.m. The air outside's still like glass. No wind, no insects. Just that hard, pressing heat that makes your skin feel like it's glowing. There was a time not long ago when I'd open every window at night just to feel the breeze. Let the air come in and carry the day away. Now, I keep everything sealed, not because of fear, because of dust, because of the smell, because I don't want to know what's out there when it gets quiet. I've only got a few hours of battery tonight. The solar rig I've been using gave me less than half a charge today. Too much smoke in the atmosphere. I don't even know where the fire is anymore. Maybe there is no where. Maybe the sky itself is just cooking from all the broken things we threw into it. I woke up drenched in sweat, even with no blanket. I haven't eaten today. There's food, technically, but I'm saving it. You get to this point where hunger becomes normal, where your stomach doesn't growl anymore. It just sits, hollow and still, like an empty cup someone left on a windowsill. I've started rationing words too. I talk less during the day, write things down instead, save my voice for this microphone, this old hand-wired frequency. I don't know if I'm talking to 10 people or 10,000, but the silence that comes after I speak tells me I'm not alone. Someone's listening. Somewhere. Tonight, I want to share a few stories. Not reports. Not theories. Just voices that came through the static. First one's from a woman named Tasha. She's in Lafayette, Louisiana. Said she and her grandfather are sheltering in the boiler room of an old hotel. Used to be called the Monteleone. Said it hasn't had a guest in over a year, but the walls are thick and the pipes still hum when it rains. She said her grandfather's an electrician, and they rigged a wind-powered turbine out of fan blades, bicycle gears, and an old kitchen timer. Doesn't give them much, but enough to run one lamp and a tiny radio. She found this frequency 2 nights ago. Said it was the first real voice they'd heard in weeks. Tasha said something I can't forget. She said, "This country didn't vanish. It cracked. And when something cracks, the light finds new ways in." She's 17. The next message came from a man named Eli, outside of Cincinnati. He's staying in the maintenance tunnels beneath a train depot with a group of 7, 4 adults, 3 kids. Said they found an old fuse box and managed to bring a few bulbs to life using car batteries. He's been mapping the tunnels by hand, looking for exits, watching for cave-ins. He said they found something strange yesterday. A sealed hatch at the end of a hallway. No markings. Heavy. Air around it felt cooler, like whatever was on the other side hadn't been touched in a long time. I asked him if he was going to open it. He said, "Not yet. The kids think it's cursed." I told him sometimes kids are smarter than we are. Another voice, cracked, older, male, didn't give a name. Said he was in Elko, Nevada, hiding out in a roadside diner that's been closed since the first wave of power outages. Said there's a radio tower half a mile away that still blinks red at night, like it remembers what it used to do. He's tried to reach it 3 times but keeps getting chased off by what he called burners. I asked him to explain. He said they're people, but not really. He said they're sun-scorched and fast, move like they're made of rubber bands and wire. He said their eyes are milk white, like they've stared too long at the sun and decided not to look away. He said they don't speak, just breathe real heavy, like animals, and they come running when they hear metal hit metal. Said he stopped carrying pots and pans. Said even the jingle of his belt buckle set one off. I'm not saying I believe all of that, but I'm also not saying I don't. Things are changing. People are mutating. Maybe. Or cracking open in ways we don't understand yet. You survive long enough, and your body starts making choices your mind never signed off on. Speaking of which, there's something happening to the birds, the ones that are left. There's a nest above the emergency exit outside the studio. I thought the eggs had all gone still. But last night, just after midnight, I heard this high-pitched clicking, not chirping, clicking, like fingernails on glass. When I went to look this morning, there was one hatchling, pale, translucent, eyes sealed shut, beak wide open, and it was breathing, backwards. That's not a metaphor. I watched it, chest pulling in when it should have pushed out, like the world rewired it wrong before it even had a chance. It didn't survive the heat. Nothing up there lasts more than a day. But it made me wonder if nature's still trying, still throwing dice. Maybe we are too. I've been keeping track of the power grid as best I can. From what I've scraped together, this is what we know. The Western interconnection, everything west of Colorado, is basically gone. Grid operators went dark by day 5. No response from Los Angeles, Seattle, Phoenix, or Vegas. The Columbia hydro dams were overrun by forest fires. The Hoover Dam had an unexplained detonation, and the Colorado River basin dried up 3 feet in a week. No one's sure why. Texas has become an island. ERCOT shut itself off from the rest of the country years ago, and now it's a burning bubble. Some parts still have spotty power, mostly oil-related sites running on private generators. But the civilian network is dead. The eastern grid is fractured. Fragmented microgrids are forming in cities where people still have access to wind or solar. But connectivity between them is gone. The few messages we've picked up are coming from amateur repeaters and ham stations running off repurposed school buses, bike generators, and car batteries. There is no longer a national grid. There are only pockets, sparks, flares in the dark. That's the map now. It's not good, but it's something. I want to read you a list of items I've confirmed are still functional post-collapse. Things you might overlook but could save your life. Landline rotary phones connected to analog switchboards. Yes, they still work in some areas with their own substation. Wind-up watches. Timekeeping's more important than you think. If you have one, calibrate it with the position of the sun at noon. Gas-powered water heaters with pilot lights. You can get hot water if the gas line still has pressure. Mechanical typewriters. Useful for record keeping if you're organizing a local log. Pre-90s diesel engines. Older vehicles with mechanical fuel pumps can be started manually and repaired with hand tools. We built this world too complex to sustain. And now the things that still work are the ones we forgot about. That says something, doesn't it? I'm going to keep the signal alive another hour if I can. If you're out there, send me a report. Doesn't have to be long. Just your name, your place, and what's around you. Let the map grow. We're not just rebuilding a country. We're rediscovering what it means to live without one. I'll be here again tomorrow night. If you're listening, if you're breathing, if you still have a voice, use it. Use it while you still can. It's 11:12 p.m. Temperatures still hovering around 103, even with the sun long gone. The ground doesn't cool anymore. It just traps the heat like a memory and releases it slow, like it doesn't want to forget what happened. The lights flickered an hour ago, then came back, then went again. I've been running off a backup capacitor rigged from an old satellite dish controller. Not made for this kind of load, but neither was I. It's hard to know what day it is now. I scratched a tally into the table. 52 lines. That's how many broadcasts I've made since the blackout. So maybe 52 days since the fall. Feels like 100 years. I found something this morning in the courthouse archives. A microfiche machine. Still works, battery-powered, weirdly enough. There was a folder stuck inside from 1983, a civil defense protocol. Pages on how to repurpose basements, filter ash from rainwater, store dry milk for nuclear winter. The language is old, but the ideas hold. I copied it down by hand. I'll read some of it on air tomorrow. You'd be surprised what people used to prepare for. We thought we were smarter than our grandparents. We weren't. They built bunkers. We built Wi-Fi. I've been picking up more signals lately. Not voices, just tones. Strange, long pulses. One of them plays a sequence every hour. 3 long, 2 short, 1 long. Morse code? Maybe. Or maybe just the ghost of something automatic that hasn't realized the world ended yet. There's a rumor about a station in Montana, underground, repeating the same message over and over. We remember you. No call sign, no other words. Just that. I've tried scanning for it, but all I hear is static. Might be a myth, but myths are all we have some nights. I got a note slipped under the door last night. Handwritten. Block letters. You're not alone. That's it. No name, no signature. I waited all night, but no one knocked. Whoever left it. Thank you. I needed that more than I needed sleep. Someone asked me yesterday if I believe the United States still exists. That's a hard question. On a map, maybe. In ruins. In echoes. But as an idea? That's harder. The Constitution doesn't mean much when no one's enforcing it. The flag doesn't fly when there's no pole to hang it from. And yet, I think there's still a country here. Not in laws, not in borders, but in memory. In every person who still shares a can of beans with a stranger. In every mother who teaches her kid how to boil water. In every voice still speaking out loud, even if it's just into static. That's what we rebuild from. Not marble steps or Capitol domes. But people. You. A guy named Marcus called from outside Nashville. Said they've got a group of 12 living in the back of an old print shop. Said they blacked out the windows with old campaign posters. Ironic, he said. All those faces smiling while the world burned behind them. He said they scavenged parts from vending machines, turned them into solar cookers. Said the meat doesn't last long, but they figured out how to slow smoke squirrel and raccoon. He asked me how long it takes for a country to die. I told him it hasn't. Not yet. We've had collapses before. The Dust Bowl, the Great Depression, hurricanes, floods, wars, blackouts, riots. We always think it's the end. And maybe this time it is. But even if it is, something's always left. Something always crawls out from the wreckage and starts again. Even if it's just one stubborn voice on a dead frequency. There's something I haven't told you. Something I've been avoiding. 3 days ago, I lost contact with the emergency beacon out of Fort Carson. That was the last place I knew had organized response. Generators, vehicles, food supply, trained personnel. It wasn't a rescue zone, but it was a signal, a sign that some part of the system still worked. Now it's gone. I don't know if it was taken, or turned off, or just ran dry. But it's gone. That one hit me harder than I expected. I sat here for a long time that night. Didn't talk, didn't eat, just stared at the empty board. All those red lights dark, all those voices gone. But I'm still here, and I think you are too. That has to count for something. A boy named Ryan sent me a voice clip. Don't ask how. Some of these kids are smarter than we ever gave them credit for. He used a cracked old tablet and a shortwave transmitter built from a CB radio and a USB power bank. Said he's 12. Hiding in a basement school in Cheyenne. Said he found a pile of encyclopedias and started reading one page a day to his little brother. Said they made a game out of it. Every time they learn a new word, they write it in chalk on the wall. The last word they added? Persevere. Kid doesn't even know how to spell it right, but he's living it. There's hope in that, even if the world doesn't know what to do with it. I've been hearing rumors of a weather pattern shift. Not official, obviously. No way's gone, but enough amateur observers are seeing the same thing. Pressure changes, sky halos, dry lightning without clouds. Some say it's fallout. Some say it's solar. Some think it's just the planet rebooting. I don't know. I just know the nights are getting longer, and the silence between calls is getting thicker. I had a dream last night. Haven't had one in weeks. I was sitting on the roof of a building that doesn't exist, high up in a city I've never seen. The wind was cool. There was music, real music, coming from an open window. Someone was playing guitar. A woman was humming. I couldn't see her face, but I knew her voice. Then everything faded. Not in fear, not in fire. Just a soft dissolve. Like the world exhaled, and I went with it. I woke up and cried. Not because it was gone, because it was kind. I miss kindness, but I still believe it's out there. If you have food, share it. If you have knowledge, teach it. If you have time, spend it listening. And if you have a voice, use it. Because the only thing stronger than silence is sound. And the only thing stronger than the end is the will to start again. This is your broadcast, not mine. I'm just holding the mic. It's 11:44. I'll be on the air until the battery quits. If you've got something to say, now's the time. It's 10:17 p.m. The mic's hot. The line's clear. For now. I've switched to a different capacitor. The old one shorted last night. Smelled like burnt plastic and sour milk. I sat in the dark for 20 minutes, wondering if that was it, if the broadcast was done. But I got lucky. Found a charge controller in the courthouse's old evidence room. I guess someone once tried to smuggle solar equipment through a disaster grant. Funny how all the broken rules are saving us now. I haven't eaten in 31 hours, not because I can't. Just don't feel it. Heat does that. It scrapes the hunger out of your system and replaces it with this buzzing hum in your ears, like a swarm of bees moving in slow motion through your bloodstream. I saw 2 people today. First in days. Didn't speak. Didn't get close. They were walking along the north side of the square, carrying bundles wrapped in sheets. Heads low. One of them looked like they had a limp. The other kept looking behind them, like something was following. I didn't wave. I didn't call out. I just watched. Until they disappeared past the bus depot. Sometimes, it's enough just to know someone else still walks upright. I've been tracking the air, not officially. Just what I smell, what I feel, what doesn't move right. Something's off. The birds that used to pass over this area, they're gone. Not dead, just absent. Like they found another sky to live in. The clouds are lower now. Not storm clouds. Just smog with shape. I noticed it this morning. The way the sun came up, if you can call it that. Not a sunrise. Just a dim smear pushing against the horizon like it was too tired to rise. There's a film on the windows. Not dust, not ash. Sticky, like dried syrup. It catches the light weird, turns it orange and gray. I scraped it with a razor and it came off in curls, like old paint. I've started covering my mouth when I go outside. Bandana soaked in vinegar. Doesn't do much, but I feel better with it on. Someone told me this is what the world felt like after Krakatoa. That island that blew itself into the stratosphere. Said the sun dimmed for years. Red skies, cold summers, crops failing. That was just one volcano. Now imagine a dozen. Nuclear fire. Fuel depots turned to glass. Plastics vaporized by the ton. You can't filter that out with a kitchen rag. I got a voice transmission last night. Weak, full of static. Came from somewhere in northern Utah. Shelter 37 reporting. Partial structural loss. 2 confirmed cases of... Then it cut. I tried to trace it, but I couldn't lock it down. Shelter 37. If you're hearing this, I got your message. I don't know what your cases are, but you're not alone. Keep transmitting. I'll keep listening. A few of you have asked how I keep doing this. The short answer? I don't know. The long answer? Because if I stop, this all goes quiet. And I'm not ready for that. Some days, I sit here with the mic live and don't say a word for half an hour. Just let the hum of the world fill the silence. And that's okay too. Because even silence, when shared, becomes a kind of music. There was a girl who called in from outside Little Rock. Her name was Mira. She was 12. Said her dad worked for the Forest Service. Taught her how to trap, how to make charcoal, how to find water by watching ants. She told me they built a water collector using shower curtains and old gutters. Collected 5 gallons of rain during a storm last week. Enough to last 3 days if they rationed. Then she said something that broke me. She said, I know the world's ending, but today felt normal. We made pancakes. I didn't know what to say to that. Still don't. Maybe this is what rebuilding looks like. Not cities, not borders. Just a child making pancakes in a dying world. Maybe we've been looking at it wrong all along. It's not about bringing back what we had. It's about protecting what we can still hold. I started making a list. Not of things we've lost, but of things we still know how to do. Boil water, sew a tier with fishing line. Start a fire with steel wool and a battery. Tell time by the sun. Bake bread in a Dutch oven buried in coals. Purify water with charcoal and gravel. Siphon fuel without spilling. Wire a light bulb to a bike pedal. Treat a fever with willow bark and cool cloth. Remember a melody from nothing but memory. If you have skills, record them, write them, speak them aloud. We've lost the internet. We've lost the cloud. But oral tradition built civilizations long before the cloud ever blinked into existence. You want to rebuild the United States? Start with a story. Start with a recipe. Start with a wire strung between 2 trees, humming with shared noise. I had a moment earlier, a stupid, small moment. I heard a song. Not on the radio. Not through a speaker. Just my mind filling the silence. A Fleetwood Mac track. One of the mellow ones. Storms. I think that's what it was. I haven't listened to music in weeks, but the brain holds on, like a broken record player with one last groove to spin. I hummed it for a while, then I cried. Not from sadness, from relief. there's still something in here. Still something soft, something unburned. If you're hearing this, wherever you are, however broken you feel, you're not alone. There's a road back. Might be crooked, might be slow, but it's there, and we'll walk it together. Stay cool. Stay quiet. Stay human. I'll be on this line until the signal gives. It's 12:03 a.m. There's a storm rolling in. Not the kind with thunder or wind. The kind you don't hear until it's already inside your lungs. I stepped outside 20 minutes ago, just to stretch, to breathe something other than stale bunker air, and the sky didn't look right. It's not black. It's gray-red, like old rust smeared in every direction. The stars are gone. Moon, too. Just this faint glow, like something's caught fire behind the clouds and never stopped burning. The air smelled like copper and motor oil. Then came the taste. Bitter, like chewing on old batteries. I don't think this is a weather front. I think it's something else. Something chemical. Something left over from the war. Whatever shape that war actually took. I don't know if we dropped bombs or if we just dropped the ball. But something broke up there, and now it's settling down here, grain by grain. I wipe down the ventilation filters with vinegar and charcoal cloth. It won't last forever. Nothing does. But if you've got cotton t-shirts and baking soda, use them. Layer it over your mouth. Every breath matters more than you think. I heard a voice tonight. Not through the radio, from the hallway outside. It was low, not angry, not loud, just calm, like someone reciting a bedtime story they've told too many times to count. I didn't see anyone, didn't find anyone, but the words stuck with me. It said, "We are the ones who stayed behind. We are the ones who listen when the stars fall silent." I wrote it down, word for word, because I don't think that was meant just for me. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's all of us. There's a man who's been trying to reach me for days. He doesn't speak on the open bands, just clicks, patterns. Tap, tap, pause, tap, tap, tap. I've mapped it out, and tonight I figured it out. It's Morse. He's broadcasting from somewhere near Buffalo, New York. His pattern? It spells water clean, over and over. If you're listening, Buffalo signal. I got you, loud and clear. Keep going. I'll try to reply with a reply tone tomorrow. Just need a spare wire for the oscillator. Some of you have started calling this station the last frequency. I didn't come up with that. But I like it. Because sometimes a name is more than a name. It's a promise. You're listening to the last frequency, and I'm still here. It's funny. Before all this, I wasn't anyone special. I wasn't a soldier, or a doctor, or a scientist. I worked nights at a public station, read traffic reports, loaded weather alerts. Once did a story on a bee sanctuary that nobody aired. But I loved it. I loved the hum of the board, the way the light flickered when the transmitter warmed up, the feeling that maybe, just maybe, someone out there was hearing your words at the exact moment you said them. Now, that's all I've got. And I'll keep saying them for as long as the power lets me. Had a woman reach out from the ruins of Salt Lake City. Her name's Elise. She said the city's mostly dust and glass now. Buildings caved in from heat stress. Sidewalks cracked like old skin. But there's a church in the northern district still standing. Basements stocked with food, candles, even a small generator. She said, it's not about religion. It's about ritual, about sitting together, speaking gently, eating in silence. No sermons, no speeches, just a room where no one's trying to hurt you. She said she'll keep the candles lit, every night at midnight, in case someone else needs the light. If you're near Salt Lake, look for the flame. She's waiting. There's this thought I keep having lately. A picture in my mind. A single lamppost, still standing in a street full of ash. Not lit, just upright. Covered in dust, surrounded by glass, but still there. It's not hope exactly. It's not sadness either. It's more like memory made solid. That's what we're doing here. Every voice, every broadcast, every scrap of signal. We're planting lampposts in the dark. One more thing before I close out tonight. If you're keeping records, please do. Not just names and dates, but stories. What you saw, what you lost, what you found again. Write them on walls. Carve them into wood. Burn them into plastic with a magnifying lens if you have to. Because someday, someone will need to know what happened here. Not the why, not the politics, but the human part. They'll need to know how we kept going. That matters. That's how the next world learns from this one. That's how the rebuild starts. I'm signing off for now. The capacitor's humming low. I don't want to push it and lose tomorrow's broadcast, but I'll be back. Same time. Same signal. Same voice. Until then, keep your fires small. Keep your stories true. Keep your hands clean and your heart open. This is the last frequency, and I'll speak to you again soon. It's 9:34 p.m. I had to shut everything down for most of the day. Battery levels dropped below red. No light, no fans, no signal. Just heat and silence. You learn a lot in that kind of quiet, like how loud your heartbeat is when it's the only sound left, or how your thoughts change shape when there's nothing to distract them. I sat on the concrete floor with my back against the wall and watched a spider crawl in slow circles. It stopped once, looked up at me like it was considering something, then moved on. I envied that spider. It has no idea the world ended. I lost a can of food today. Dropped it down the supply shaft trying to shift the battery. It cracked on impact. Peaches. I could smell them, even through the dust. The scent climbed all the way up the vents, made my mouth water and my stomach ache. I haven't tasted fruit in over a month. It's the little things you miss first, then the big ones. There's been a rise in fake signals. That's not paranoia. It's confirmed. I've picked up 5 separate broadcasts in the past 48 hours, all using similar voice modulation, all pretending to be emergency services. They say things like, "This is FEMA Command Post 7, safe zone established. Evac point confirmed at Junction 84. Bring ID and medical cards." Sounds real, tone's perfect, language is tight, but when you trace the signal, it's bouncing. Synthetic hops, digital ghosts. Someone, or something, is copying old voice patterns and replaying them. But real FEMA hasn't transmitted in weeks, and the coordinates? They lead to dead zones, burned highways, collapsed bridges. Best case, you get there and find ash. Worst case, something else is waiting. I don't know who's doing it. Maybe it's a trap. Maybe it's someone sick with hope, trying to pretend the system still exists. Or maybe it's an echo from a machine that doesn't know the war is over. If you hear a signal claiming to offer safe zone support, Don't follow it unless you can verify the source. Repeat, don't follow unless verified. Use authentication, prime numbers, passphrases, signatures. Use anything that can't be faked. We're past the age of trust. Now it's all signal and instinct. Got a shortwave from Arkansas, a guy named Darnell. He's got a crew living in a grain silo north of Bentonville. Said the structure's sound, the air inside stays cool, and they've been using old farming manuals to ration and store. Said one of their kids figured out how to rig a generator from a stripped washing machine motor. They've got enough power now to run a light bulb and a small freezer. Darnell said, "We never used to listen to that kid. Now he's keeping us alive." If that doesn't tell you what this world is now, I don't know what will. He said they're growing radishes and carrots in stacked milk crates. Said they purify runoff water through layers of sand, charcoal, and broken glass. Said they trade knowledge now like currency. A recipe for soap? Worth more than ammo. Instructions on treating a tooth infection? Priceless. If you've got old books, scan them, copy them, record them into tape, bury them if you have to. Because one day, when all this settles, we're going to need more than memory. We'll need instructions. Something else, harder to explain. I've been hearing a clicking at night, not over the mic, not through the radio. In the building, somewhere in the vents. Not fast, not animal. Slow, deliberate, like fingers tapping out a message through old copper pipes. I tapped back once, just to see, and it stopped. Didn't come back for hours. Then, right before sunset, it tapped again. 5 slow clicks. Then silence. I don't know what it means. Might be nothing. Might be everything. I don't know what I'm more afraid of, that someone's down there, or that something is. I still sleep with a crowbar by the door. It's rusted, bent, but it's the closest thing I have to a promise. Let's talk about security for a minute. Not guns, not alarms. That's the old world. I'm talking trust. If you're building a community, small or large, set rules early. Doesn't matter what they are, but write them down, speak them out loud, repeat them every day. Human memory is soft under pressure. People forget fast when they're scared. Ritual matters now. Do inventory at least twice a week. Rotate duties. Write everything on walls or slates. Get rid of power hierarchies that serve no purpose. Everyone has a role now. Even kids. Especially kids. Make water your first focus. After that, light. Then food. Then waste. Always waste. No one wants to talk about it, but untreated waste kills more people than bombs. If you've got someone who knows sanitation, keep them close, and never, ever let your fire burn uncovered at night. The glow carries. Shadows move toward glow. A woman named Teresa reached me today, from outside Butte, Montana. Said they're setting up something called a wire garden. It's not what it sounds like. They bury copper mesh in a grid, use it to transmit short pulses to neighbors within line of sight. No words, just tones. Yes or no answers. Morse, a way to check in without speaking. She said, even the quiet needs connection. She's right. Connection is how we rebuild. Not loud, not fast, just steady. One pulse at a time. I don't know what the world looks like outside Missouri right now. Maybe it's worse, maybe it's better. But I believe in something I can't see. I believe someone out there is making bread tonight with the last bit of flour. I believe someone's playing guitar for a circle of people beneath a collapsed overpass. I believe someone's teaching a 6-year-old how to write her name in the dirt with a stick. That's how the country comes back. Not with sirens, with stories, with memory, with time, and with people who refuse to disappear. Stay with me. I'll keep this line open as long as I can. Even if I lose power, I'll be back tomorrow. Same frequency, same voice. Until then, don't trust every light. Don't follow every sound. But hold on to what's real. You, this signal, this moment. It's 10:58 p.m. I've been trying to stay awake. Haven't slept since Tuesday. Can't afford to. Not with the battery only charging 3 hours a day and something moving through the streets after midnight. I heard it again last night. Same pattern, same sound. Slow footsteps. Not fast, just deliberate. Rhythmic. Like whoever or whatever it is knows there's no reason to hurry. I killed the lamp, sat behind the metal shelf with the crowbar across my lap, held my breath until the only thing I could hear was the static hum of the board. Then the footsteps stopped, and something scraped the outer wall. Just once. Not loud. Not like claws. Like metal. Like a coin being dragged across concrete. And then it left. I haven't gone outside since. Someone called this station the last frequency a few nights ago. I've started thinking of it that way too. Not as a slogan. Just as truth. I haven't picked up another stable signal in over a week. Everything else is bouncing static, broken tones, or fake emergency bait. So maybe this is it. One voice, one mic, one bunker, still transmitting. I've been logging every report I get, places, names, facts, writing them into an old legal ledger I found upstairs. It's the only paper that hasn't curled up from the heat. Here's what I've got tonight. Name, Dennis. Location, somewhere near Laramie, Wyoming. Report, surviving with his niece and 2 neighbors in a bus garage. Found 4 propane tanks, using them to cook and purify water. Rotated the tires on a short bus and turned it into a mobile shelter. They're trying to drive north, away from the red rains. Note, said he saw a storm yesterday that lit up the horizon with green lightning. No thunder, just sky-splitting light and a sound like tearing paper. Name, Juliet. Location, near Redding, California. Report, alone, hiding in a cellar beneath a winery. Says the vines above have all withered into black thread. Fruit's gone dry, but the cellar still holds temperature. She's been sleeping between crates of broken glass and fermenting air. Note, sent a coded tone sequence with her voice message. Still learning Morse. Keep going, Juliet. You're doing just fine. Name, unknown. Location, outside Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Report, broadcast intercepted, no name given. Said, air tastes wrong. Eyes burn in daylight. Some don't blink anymore. Note, no return signal. No trace. There's a pattern forming. Everywhere the heat reaches past 110 for more than 3 days, things start breaking down faster. Not just the food, not just the tech. People. I don't know if it's the heat itself, or what's riding in it. Skin changes, eyes dry, nails crack and grow wrong, hallucinations set in. People wander, forget their names, walk toward sound without knowing why. Someone, I think it was that woman in Kansas, said, It's like the heat is making the brain forget how to be human. We weren't meant to live this way. Not for this long. Not without trees. Not without shade. The old world was built on cool air and refrigeration, grocery stores and walk-in freezers. Now it's just heat and hunger. And the longer we stay in it, the more it takes from us. I used to wonder how people lost their minds in old war stories, how a person could just unravel from fear or hunger. Now I don't wonder. I understand. There's a kind of quiet that slips into your bones when you haven't spoken to another living person in 3 days. Not even a bird. Not even a rat. Just your own breath echoing off concrete, and the sound of your heartbeat thumping against a ribcage that doesn't want to fight anymore. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you because I know someone out there is feeling it too. And I want you to know, it's not just you. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're just human. And humans were built to break, then put themselves back together. I've done it more times than I can count. Sometimes in silence, sometimes on air, but always, always with the promise that tomorrow might give me a reason. Even if that reason is small, even if it's just another voice on the line. There's something I want to say to those of you trying to build something. Keep doing it. Even if it's just a wall made of trash bags. Even if it's a garden growing from ash. Even if it's a library made of one book and a piece of charcoal. Build it. Because the ones who build, even with nothing, are the ones who shape what comes next. The ones who burn. They fade. But the ones who build, they leave maps. They leave stories. They leave hope. This is the last frequency. I'll keep broadcasting. Until the board's short. Until the wires melt. Or until someone tells me, we've made it out the other side. Stay sharp. Stay dry. And if you see something moving slow in the heat, wait. Watch. Don't call out until you're sure it remembers what it means to be human. More tomorrow. It's 2:27 a.m. Still hot. Still silent. Tonight's one of those nights where it feels like the world is holding its breath, like even the wind is afraid to move. The fan I rigged up from the old copy machine hums against the back wall, but it doesn't reach far. The air is just still, heavy, like soup left to rot in a metal bowl. Temperature hasn't dipped below 100 in almost 5 days, not even after sundown. I cracked open a crate of emergency rations I found in the municipal storage room. Real old stuff. Beige packaging, faded stamps. One of them said, Property of Civil Defense Corps, 1962. Another just had a sticker, in case of Soviet strike. Felt weird, opening food meant for a war that never happened. During the war, we never expected. They tasted like cardboard and chalk. But I ate every bite. You'd be surprised what gratitude feels like when it's wrapped in plastic and powdered cheese. I was thinking today about the last normal conversation I had. Not a broadcast, not a call-in, just a real conversation. It was with a woman named Linda. She worked at the front desk of the old AM station in town. She always had this tin of lemon candies she kept under the desk. One day, I asked her why she never ate them. She said, "They're not for me. They're for bad days." I didn't get it at the time. Thought maybe she meant bad mood, or maybe just a headache. But now, I think I understand. Some things you save, not because they're fancy, not because they're rare, but because they remind you that not every day is supposed to feel like the end. I wonder where she is now, I hope she kept one of those candies for herself. I've been getting more strange reports. They come in like whispers, half-finished messages, lost words, voices with long pauses. Here's one from 2 nights ago. No name, no ID, just this. I saw them again, in the parking lot, standing, not doing anything, just standing, all facing the same way, toward the fire, like they were waiting for something, or listening. The signal dropped before I could respond. I don't know what them means. I don't know what fire. But that's the 4th time I've heard the phrase standing in rows. Once from Utah, once from Tennessee. Now here. They're always in rows, always silent, and always watching something we can't see. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's heat stroke. Or maybe it's just something new trying to make itself known. I don't have answers. I only have echoes. And I'll keep repeating them until someone replies. There's a young man broadcasting from a barn near Abilene. His voice is hoarse. You can hear the heat behind it, but he's still going. He ends every transmission with the same words, sun up, head down, make it count. That's it. Simple, clean, strong. I've written it on the wall next to the mic, because that's all survival really is now. Sunrise, focus, purpose, and repeat. There was a time we defined survival by stockpiles and bunkers, but now it's rhythm, routine, showing up for another night. I had a dream earlier, maybe a memory, not sure anymore where one ends and the other begins. I was standing in a grocery store. The lights were humming. The floor was cold. I was holding a basket full of canned soup and paper towels, and everyone around me was moving. Slowly. Not because they were scared, but because they weren't in a hurry. Because nothing was chasing them. It felt like watching a movie from someone else's life. Then I woke up with my face pressed into the table, drool soaked into a map of eastern Missouri, and the backup battery blinking red. I don't know if that dream broke me or stitched me back together. But I know I wanted to go back. Not to the store, to the quiet. We didn't realize how lucky we were to be bored. I want to try something tonight. A list. Not of supplies. Not of names. Just a reminder. Here are 5 things I still believe in. Boiled water will always be better than no water. Kindness doesn't cost calories. There's no such thing as a useless skill. People remember voices longer than they remember faces. Even in the dark, a small light matters. Write your own list. Tape it to a wall. Whisper it into the wind. Whatever keeps your hands moving. We rebuild from memory, from ritual, from the things we keep saying out loud. Even when no one's answering, even when the mic feels cold, we say them anyway. Because repetition is how we tell the universe we are still here, the boards glowing steady, which means someone, somewhere, is listening. If that's you, thank you. You keep this frequency alive. You keep me alive. I'll check in again at dawn if the capacitor holds. Until then, repeat after me. You're not alone. You're not broken. You're not finished. This is the last frequency, and the line stays open. It's 3:41 a.m. The vents stopped groaning about an hour ago. I think something shifted in the building. Maybe another wall gave out. The air feels different, thicker, not warm, just dense. Like the pressure changed. Like something's coming. I've stacked sandbags at the exit. What's left of them? The bags are rotting from the heat. Even the canvas has gone brittle. But they hold shape. They make me feel like there's a line between here and out there, even if it's only psychological. Sometimes the illusion of safety is enough to keep breathing. I had a voice come through the radio tonight. Didn't catch the name. Just static and then a voice. Woman. Probably in her 30s. She said, "I remember what birds used to sound like. I don't think I've heard one in a month. Not a song. Not a wing beat. Just nothing. Do you think they're all gone?" I didn't know what to say. I could have lied. Could have said, "They're hiding," or "They'll come back when it cools." But the truth is, I don't know if they will. I haven't heard a bird since day 19. A crow, I think, perched on a rusted antenna and cawing like the world owed it something. Then it flew off, and I haven't heard a single wing since. The sky's too hot. The trees are sick. The bugs are dying off. And the air, whatever's in it, it's not meant for lungs that were built for spring. But I still remember their sounds too. Mockingbirds, blue jays, that stupid pigeon that nested in the air duct above the station and drove me insane every Tuesday with its 3-note song. I'd give anything to hear it now, just one more time, because the silence that replaced it isn't peaceful. It's hollow, like the world forgot how to sing. I've been thinking about memory lately, not the big stuff, birthdays, holidays, street names, the small pieces, the flashes, the things that come back when you're half asleep and too tired to fight the dream. I remembered a day when I was 15, walking back from a friend's house in the rain. Wet socks, damp headphones, a piece of gum stuck to the bottom of my shoe. Nothing happened. Just a day. But I remember it perfectly. The smell of the wet pavement. The way the sky looked like a watercolor painting. The way the raindrops felt on my hands when I held them out like I was trying to catch something. That's the kind of memory that doesn't serve any purpose, doesn't feed you, doesn't shelter you, doesn't teach you how to fix a fuse or purify water. But it reminds you that you were alive, and if you were alive then, you can be alive again. I've started writing these memories on the walls, in the hallways, in the stairwell, wherever the mold hasn't taken hold, one sentence at a time. First time I heard my favorite song, laughing until I couldn't breathe. Cold grapes on a hot day. Someone holding my hand on a long drive. If this place ever falls, and it might, I want whoever finds it to know that we were more than survivors. We were people. We felt things, and those feelings mattered. Even now. Especially now. There's something moving across the airwaves, something I haven't been able to trace. It comes in short bursts. Not a voice. Not Morse. Just pulses. 5 long tones. Then static. Then again, exactly 15 minutes later. No location. No call sign. But always the same signature. I've logged 8 of them so far. And here's what's strange. Each one is exactly the same pitch. No variation. No drift. That shouldn't happen on a degraded grid, not with equipment scavenged and rigged from scraps. There should be fluctuation. But this signal, it's precise, surgical, which means one of two things. Either it's automated from a pre-collapse satellite with a stabilized beacon, or someone out there has power, real power, a stabilized setup, clean equipment, and a reason to hide their location. Either way, I want to find them. If you're listening, and you're the source of the 5 tones, reply. Anything. 1 word. 1 tone. 1 flicker. I'm here, still waiting. I had a nightmare earlier. Happens more lately. They're different now. Not the usual ones. Not falling or drowning or being chased. This one. I was in a crowd, but no one was moving, just standing, all facing away, like statues, like they'd forgotten how to turn around. I tried to speak, but no one answered. I reached out to touch someone's shoulder, and when I did, they collapsed, just crumbled, like sand in the shape of a person, and underneath, just an outline, a hollow imprint in the ground, like they'd never been there at all. When I woke up, I couldn't breathe. The air was thick. The battery fan had stalled. I had to open the grate and let in outside air just to keep the equipment from cooking. That was 20 minutes ago, and now the battery's dipping low. I'll have to go dark soon, but before I do, I want to leave you with this. The world's still burning. That's not up for debate. But fire doesn't only destroy. It clears. It reshapes. It feeds the soil with ash and makes room for things we haven't seen yet. So maybe this isn't the end. Maybe it's the space before a beginning. The part where we remember who we were and start deciding who we want to be next. This is the last frequency, and I'm not signing off. Not yet. It's 12:14 a.m. The walls are sweating. It's not a figure of speech. There's actual condensation on the concrete, dripping down in slow, patient streaks like the bunker itself is tired of keeping everything inside. I've lived through summers. I've worked radio booths with broken AC. But this is something else. The air feels cooked. Every breath feels like steam. And it's not just here. This heat's not local anymore. This is national. I've heard from stations up north, Minnesota, Ontario, even parts of Western Canada, that temperatures are spiking past 100 after midnight. No storms, no clouds, just radiant, uninterrupted heat, like the sun left something behind when it dipped below the horizon. And people are changing. I don't mean mutations, not yet, but behavior. You hear it in the voices, shorter sentences, longer pauses, people forgetting words, saying thing instead of tool, stuff instead of food, like language itself is melting. I keep my mouth covered even inside now, not because I think it'll save me, just ritual. Feels like doing something. And when you don't have medicine or air conditioning or control, sometimes ritual is all you've got. Had a transmission earlier, very faint, from someone identifying as Echo 2. Said this: small group moving east, following riverbed, avoiding paved roads, air clearer, less static, staying under 95 during sunrise, small blessing. Said no names, no locations, just Echo 2, and a pulse tone at the end that matched the 5-tone pattern I told you about last night. Which means they're connected. Whoever's sending those signals, they're not alone. And they're not just sending tones to test equipment. They're mapping something, following something. Maybe water, maybe old microwave towers, or maybe they're looking for us. I'm going to keep logging everyone that comes through, because if someone's building a map, I want to be on it. I want you to be on it too. Got a call from someone calling herself Ren. She didn't say where she was. said she didn't trust her location yet. That's smart. But she told me something I haven't been able to shake. She said, people forget, but music is infrastructure too. We lost the songs and something fell apart. I think it's more than just morale. I think the rhythm of cities used to keep us aligned. Without it, we're twitching out of step. She said she's been trying to recreate that rhythm by humming, walking in tempo, tapping old rhythms on the bunker pipes. Not for entertainment, for balance. I believe her. I felt it too, the disconnect, that slow drift from one second to the next, like time itself is losing sync. I used to run shows to a clock, tight, down to the second. But now, I'll say it's midnight and it'll be 3 a.m., or I'll blink and find myself in sunrise with no memory of sleep. Maybe that's trauma, maybe that's the heat, or maybe something broke in the system that measured everything. And now we're just floating. Here's what's still working in this room. One fan, one radio transmitter, one condenser mic, chipped diaphragm but holding. 2 LED strips wired into copper tape. A mechanical wind-up clock I rewound with a butter knife. 3 pages of copied emergency contacts I found in an old FEMA binder. A book of matches. My voice. Everything else is questionable. The backup hard drives are too hot to trust. I keep them wrapped in fabric and tucked under wet towels, but I'm losing storage. The tape deck jammed again, and the solar panel blew its fuse during yesterday's spike. I rigged a bypass using a piece of aluminum soda can. It's holding for now, but I'm not proud of it. This isn't resilience. This is desperation with a soldering iron. And still, I'm here. I'll keep being here until this room swallows me or the mic sparks its last hum. There was a girl, young, maybe 15, who got through on one of the relay repeaters near New Orleans. Her name was Remy. She said, we planted beans in cut plastic jugs on a roof. Didn't know if they'd grow. But today, green. Just the smallest curl, like a question mark made of leaf. I smiled when I heard that, because that's all hope really is. A leaf, a question mark, a maybe. I'm not going to lie to you and say the world's getting better. It's not. But maybe something green still grows in the ashes. And maybe someone like Remy will live long enough to eat what she planted. That's enough reason to keep speaking. Enough reason to stay awake. Enough reason to turn this mic back on again tomorrow. The temperature just hit 102 again. Indoors. I need to shut down for an hour before the batteries warp. But I'll be back. This is the last frequency, and tonight, it's humming steady. It's 4:02 a.m. The silence outside feels wrong tonight. Not calm, not peaceful, wrong. Like the absence of noise is deliberate. I stepped out into the stairwell an hour ago and stood completely still. No wind, no insects, no distant creaks. Even the buzzing transformer a block away. Dead. It's like something turned the volume knob down on the world. And I don't think it was me. There's a certain hum I've learned to expect, not from machines, from life. A low rhythm underneath the day, the sound of people breathing, birds shifting in their nests, the grind of dust across broken roads. But tonight, it's like the planet is holding its breath. I think something's changed. The barometer dipped suddenly. Temperature jumped from 101 to 107 in under 10 minutes. No reason, no sun, no fire nearby. Just a spike. I wrapped a wet cloth around my neck and kept the backup fan running. But even the air coming through feels hotter than the air it replaces. It's like the heat's coming from inside the ground. I tried to contact a man in Arizona tonight. Goes by Nash. He had a rigged solar uplink running out of an old fire tower in the Coconino Forest. Kept track of weather fronts and thermal pockets. We used to talk once a week. Tonight? Nothing. Not even static. Just absence. Like he and the tower never existed. I don't know how many more drop off before this becomes pointless. But I promised I'd stay on the line. So I will. I heard from a woman named Marla, somewhere east of Memphis. She said the Mississippi has shrunk. Badly. Said the water's still moving, but it's slow, thick, the color of rot. Fish float belly up. Frogs are gone. Said people have started following the river anyway, desperate for direction. Some are barefoot. Some are blind from the glare. But they keep moving, always south. Marla said she thinks they're chasing something. Not safety, not shelter, just a memory. Maybe they think the ocean is still there, that the end of the river still matters. Maybe it does. She's not following them. She said she stays inland, has chickens, a root cellar, a husband who's gone mostly quiet. PTSD maybe, or grief. He spends whole days carving little birds out of sticks. She said he gives them names. Names of real birds he hasn't seen in weeks. Bluebird, finch, kingfisher. She said he plants them on fence posts like sentries, and every morning he checks to see if any have flown away. They never do, but still, he checks. That's what hope looks like now. A man carving silence into wings. I got a strange signal tonight. Short range. Narrow band. Didn't come through the main dish. Came through the emergency receiver. A man's voice, deep, calm, almost rehearsed. He said, "We are initiating secondary phase. Repeat, secondary phase. Echo lines confirmed compromised. Thermal spread at threshold. East corridor unstable. Initiate protocol 12. Reset required." Then silence. No repeat. No origin. No encryption. Just broadcast, as if I was supposed to hear it. Protocol 12. Reset required. What the hell does that mean? Is it military, scientific, something automated that just triggered by time or temperature? Or is someone out there still playing God with a control panel we can't see? If you've heard that same message, contact me. Use the narrow band or 47.10 FM. Loop tone 5 times, then speak. I'll be listening. If we can trace the phrase, we can find the source. Because I don't think it was meant for us. I think it was meant for someone who isn't human. A boy from Wichita got through tonight. His voice cracked like dry twigs. Said he was 8. Name was Caleb. He said, "My dad went to find help, but the shadows are still here. They don't talk. They're not people, but they remember people. They look like statues when the sun hits them. But at night, they move." I didn't know how to answer that. I still don't. Because part of me wants to believe he's confused, that it's dehydration or trauma. But another part remembers the voices from Utah, from Tennessee, from here. People talking about shapes standing in rows, always silent, always watching. Maybe Caleb saw them too. Maybe they're not just hallucinations. Maybe there's something left behind by the war. Something that stepped out of the fire and decided not to leave. Or maybe they're what's next. I don't want to scare you. I want to keep this place about survival, about community. But if you see shapes at night, Don't approach. Don't speak. Just listen, and if they move, don't. You'll know what I mean if it happens. I've started sleeping in intervals now, 40 minutes at a time. Any longer, and the heat presses down like a weight. I wake up disoriented. One time I couldn't feel my fingers. Another, my tongue was stuck to the roof of my mouth and I dreamed I'd swallowed glass. Water's low, 3 bottles left. After that, I boil the gray stuff that drips from the vents and pray it doesn't rot me from the inside. I'm not asking for pity. I just want you to know I'm still here. I'm still watching the clock. Still logging every name, every town, every crack in the map where someone whispers through the static. Because this is how we hold the country together. Not with flags, with records, with stories, with your voices stitched together like patchwork across dead air. This is the last frequency, and you are not alone. It's 5:19 a.m. I haven't been outside in 4 days, maybe 5. Hard to tell. The clock's been skipping seconds again. Whole minutes vanish sometimes, like someone lifted them off the tape. I try not to think about it. I mark the wall. I scratch the days. But when the sun doesn't rise like it used to, time stops being something you can count. The backup batteries are flickering. I'm down to half charge and one last solar plate that hasn't warped in the heat. I angled it at the corner of the west stairwell where the concrete hasn't split yet. If the light holds, I'll get 3 more hours of broadcast. Maybe less. So I'll make this count. There was a voice last night, just before I powered down. Young. Male. Not panicked. Just tired. He said, "They're taking the roads again, not like before. Not to run, to follow. Something's out there. Big. I hear it when I put my ear to the asphalt, like the hum of a distant engine, except it never gets closer. Just vibrates." He didn't leave a name. Just that. And then a low humming sound over the line before it cut. That's the second time someone said they heard the ground hum. I've felt it too. Twice now I've been sitting here, completely still, and felt something under the bunker. Not an earthquake, not machinery. A pulse, like something moving underground. Massive, directional. It lasts about 30 seconds. Then it fades, like it's passing underneath us. If you felt it too, let me know. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe it's something left from the war, some buried engine chewing its last charge under the soil. Or maybe it's alive. Whatever it is, it doesn't feel like it belongs to the world we knew. Not anymore. I've been thinking a lot about the rebuild. That's what people used to say on the news, right? We'll rebuild. As if recovery was a matter of blueprints and plywood. But you can't rebuild something if you don't understand what it was first. And the truth is, most of us never understood the system. We just lived inside it. Now we see the cracks, the parts that never made sense. We know how fragile it all was, how many of our systems depended on a dozen silent gears we never touched ourselves. A guy from Boulder, James, sent me a list of things he and his group have had to relearn since the blackout. Here's what he wrote. How to sharpen a blade by hand. How to start a fire without matches. How to set a bone. How to tell safe mushrooms from fatal ones. How to identify poison ivy. How to find north without a compass. How to dig a latrine without contaminating water. How to listen before speaking. That last one hit me hardest. He said, We were all so loud before, and now, the silence feels like a teacher. He's right. I've learned more in these 100-plus-degree nights than I did in 10 years of fluorescent lights and push notifications. Like how the sound of dripping water can drive you mad and save your life. Or how the smell of dirt, real, old dirt, can feel like hope if it means something might grow. There's a girl near the Texas border who's been calling in every other day. I haven't said her name yet. She asked me not to. But she told me something tonight I need to share. She said, "There's a town here, abandoned, mostly. But there's a library still standing. No roof. Half the walls gone. But the books are there, moldy, damp, but still there. And we've been reading them out loud at night. To each other. Like stories around a fire. It makes the dark feel smaller." She said they've started teaching again. Lessons drawn in dirt. History recited from memory. Kids learning by flashlight. She said, "We don't teach for grades anymore. We teach so the world doesn't vanish." I wanted to cry when I heard that. Because that's the rebuild. Not concrete. Not power grids. Memory. Ritual. Words. The shape of things passed down by voice. So if you're listening to this, and you're holed up in some room with your family, or your neighbors, or even just the ghost of someone you used to know, read something out loud tonight. Doesn't matter what. A recipe, a list, a prayer, a comic book. Say it aloud. Let the walls remember your voice. Let the silence know we're still here. One more thing. There's talk of a map. A new one. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it even can be real anymore. But a voice from the old Port District in Boston said he intercepted pieces of it. Not images. Not GPS. Just coordinates. Snippets of places where survivors have lit fires visible from the sky. He said there's a cluster forming in what used to be North Carolina, near the Blue Ridge. He said they call it the lattice. I don't know what that means yet, but I'll try to find out. Because if someone is rebuilding from the ruins, we deserve to know how. We deserve to know where. I'll keep listening. You keep breathing. This is the last frequency, and I still hear you. It's 6:41 a.m. Sun's already above the trees, but the sky doesn't look right. Too pale. Too quiet. There's a color to it I don't know the name for. Something between old parchment and dead skin. It doesn't change, not even when the sun moves. Just hangs there like a faded bedsheet over the world. I haven't seen a cloud in 7 days. There's no wind, no birds, no jets, no contrails. Just this sick, still dome overhead. The kind of sky you'd expect above a place that's already given up. The heat hasn't dropped once. I poured what was left of my clean water over the transmitter casing this morning, just to keep it from warping. The wires hissed like something alive. I don't know how many more days I can keep the equipment going without the solar rig. One panel's already buckled. The other has a crack running through the center like a lightning scar. The more I talk, the faster I drain it. But I'm going to keep talking anyway. Because that's the deal. I talk, you survive. Simple as that. Got a burst transmission last night from someone near Louisville. Woman, mid-40s maybe. Said her name was Sandra. No background hum. She was on battery power. She said this. I made it through. I walked 23 miles without stopping. Saw 6 cars melted to the road and a house that was half gone, like it had been sliced with a knife. But I got here, and they let me in. It's real, the place, the lattice. It's real, and it's not just a camp. Then she went quiet. 5 seconds. 10. Then this. They have clean water, not bottled, filtered, a working well. They grow things in towers, indoors. They've got solar with backups. And they don't just take anyone. You have to prove you're not changed. She didn't explain what that meant. But I don't think she meant sick. Not in the old way. She said they test your memory. Ask questions. Childhood things. Emotions. They want to see if your mind still remembers how to feel. That's their line, I guess. If you've gone too far numb, they don't let you in. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But I believe her. The lattice is real, and it's thinking long term. There's a lot I don't understand about what's left of this country. Who's still out there? What's driving them? But the idea that someone, somewhere, is building not just a camp, but a filter, trying to preserve something human, that feels like the first honest plan I've heard since everything broke. So if you're near the Blue Ridge, look for the lights. She said they shine a column into the sky every third night. A vertical beam, white-blue, bright enough to cut through smoke. It's not a trap, it's a signal. 3 flashes. Pause. 3 more. I don't know if I'll ever see it. But if you do, follow it. If you trust yourself to still feel something, follow it. Sandra said they're looking for builders, people who remember how to make, not just survive, not just kill. I'm thinking more about what I'd say if I ever got there, what I'd tell them. I think I'd say I kept the signal alive, even if that's all. Even if that's not enough. That's something. There's a boy about 100 miles south of me. Name's Development. 15, maybe 16. He's been wiring up bike dynamos to car batteries and running short bursts of signal every morning. Calls himself Static Boy. He said, "My friends are gone. They left looking for meds. That was 9 days ago. I think they knew they weren't coming back. They just didn't want to die here. I'm trying to make the school work again. I got 3 classrooms lit up and 1 bathroom working. I write things on the whiteboard now. Stuff I remember from before. I don't want to forget the stuff that made me feel okay." He reads aloud at night, uses a little cassette recorder, and pushes it through his PA system. Mostly old jokes, kid stuff, nothing fancy. Last night he read Garfield comics into the dark for 20 straight minutes. He said he wants to remind the shadows what laughing sounded like. That kid is going to save the world, not with machines, with his voice. That's why I keep this mic on, even when it costs too much, even when the heat tries to squeeze the words out of me. Because somewhere, someone needs to remember how we sounded. Someone needs to hear the shape of human hope. One last thing before I power down. I found a journal, old spiral notebook, wedged between a pair of concrete slabs in the back of the filing room. Pages torn, some water-stained, but still legible. It belonged to a man who worked here before me, long before, maybe the 90s. He wrote radio notes, shift logs, bits of poetry. And on one page, near the back, he wrote this: "When everything else fails, send a voice. If it makes it through, you're not alone. If it doesn't, at least you left behind something that tried." I read that page about a dozen times, and I think I will again tomorrow, because that's all I am now. Something that tries. The last frequency is still transmitting. And if you're listening, then so are you. It's 3:58 a.m. No breeze tonight, no clouds. The building's so quiet, I can hear the hum of my own teeth when I clench my jaw. It's a strange thing, being able to hear your bones. The concrete is radiating heat like a stovetop. I had to soak my socks again, just to keep from passing out earlier. I've moved my bedding under the table now, where the ground's just a few degrees cooler. I've stopped checking the weather. There's no point. Every time I tune in the Noe band, I just hear the same broken transmission on loop. Unprecedented thermal activity, global shift in upper air flow, radiation index abnormal, systems compromised, repeat, remain indoors. But there's no timestamp, and no source. Could have been playing for weeks, months, or years. It's like a ghost of an old emergency that never got turned off. The kind of thing no one's listening to anymore except people like me. Voices without an audience, signals without a return. But that's fine, because I got a call tonight that reminded me this isn't for the ones who left. It's for the ones still here. Name was Noah. He's traveling east. Says he's got a cart rigged to a pair of bike tires and a backpack filled with old medical books. He used to be a student. Said he's collecting what people remember. Oral histories, skills, remedies, names. Said this: if the world ends again, I want to make sure someone knows what comfrey does, or that willow bark helps with pain, or that turmeric keeps the wounds from rotting. I don't care if I make it. I just want to leave behind a better manual. He's walking across the dead highways like a monk, teaching people how to stitch wounds with fishing line and sterilize scalpels with car batteries. He said he saw a man in Kentucky heal a child's burn with honey and a leaf poultice. Said she smiled through the pain, that she laughed when the bandage came off. You tell me that doesn't mean something. You tell me this world is beyond saving, because I don't buy it. Not yet. I got another call. This one was rough. A woman in Tacoma. Didn't give a name. Just kept saying, they're not gone. I asked who. She said, the people we lost, the ones we thought vaporized, they're still walking, but they don't blink. They don't answer. It's like they're stuck between frames. She described a neighbor, said his skin looked waxy. His hands moved like a puppet's. She said he tried to open the same locked door 5 times in a row. Same angle, same knock, like a loop. She tried talking to him. He didn't even turn. I told her it might be trauma, shock. She didn't respond. Just this. What if the war didn't kill people the way we thought? What if it broke time around them? Then the line cut. Maybe she was delirious. Maybe not. But I can't shake the feeling that there are people out there still here, but not present, like echoes that didn't finish bouncing off the walls. I remember something from my college days, something about electrical burns in memory. They said that when a high enough current hits the brain, it can loop a person's last conscious thought for several seconds. In theory, a strong enough EM pulse might trap a mind mid-sentence. If what she saw was real, if people are stuck like that, caught in routines, gestures, phrases, we might be living alongside ghosts that haven't realized they're gone. Not dead, just unsynced. That's a horror we don't talk about enough. Not what's lost, what's left. I've started leaving little notes around the station. Not for anyone. Not even for myself, really. Just in case someone comes through after I'm gone. They'll find a note on the generator. Bleeds power. Check every 3 hours. 1 taped to the locker. Don't trust the red batteries. They leak. One above the mic. Say something every day, even if it's small. Because voices need anchors, and places like this need memory. I think that's what Noah's really doing. He's building anchors in people's minds, giving them tools, letting them feel the shape of their own history in their hands. That's what I want to do too. This isn't just a broadcast. It's a hand on your shoulder. It's someone saying, "You're not crazy. This is real. And it's okay to feel it." You don't have to be brave all the time. You don't have to keep your chin up. You can cry. You can freeze. You can say, "I don't know what to do." And then you can breathe again. Because as long as you're breathing, the rebuild isn't over. That's the truth nobody puts in the survival guides. You're allowed to break. Just don't stay broken. You're allowed to grieve. Just don't let it stop you from planting something. That's what I'm holding on to now. That's what we are. People planting voices in the ashes and hoping something hears them. This is the last frequency, still transmitting, still alive, still waiting for you to answer. It's 4:50 a.m. Power dipped again. I had to reroute everything through the emergency capacitor and shut down the light strip to buy myself another half hour of broadcast. The room's pitch black now, except for the tiny orange pulse of the recording LED. Feels like I'm talking into the dark with no guarantee anyone's still on the other side. But I've done that before. Long before this war, before the grid fell, before the heat baked the rivers dry and the ground forgot how to grow. I've always been a voice without a room, and maybe that's all I was ever meant to be. The equipment's whining again. Something in the coil wants to burn. I can smell it. Plastic, copper, panic. But it's holding. For now. Got a call last night from a man who didn't want to give his name. Just said he was a teacher once. High school. Geography. He said he's been moving from collapsed towns to hollowed-out suburbs, building maps by memory. No GPS, no drone surveys. Just lines scratched into tarp and the muscle memory of old routes. He said, "The interstate's unrecognizable now. Trees are growing through the overpasses. Asphalt's buckled like scar tissue. But the rivers still flow the same way. They don't lie. You follow the water. You stay alive." He's trying to make something he called a living map. Not just roads, but people. Connections. Camp names. Relays. Voices like mine. He said he's traced 24 of us across what used to be the eastern U.S. Some signals have already gone dark. Some are fakes, loops, or pirate rebroadcasts. But a few are real. And he believes we're forming something like a constellation. He said we might not realize it yet, but the survivors tuning in to each of our signals are starting to build routes between us. Little migratory paths stitched together by radio. If that's true, if we're part of something bigger, I want to help it grow. So if you're listening from anywhere between the old Mississippi Valley and the Blue Ridge, start marking where you hear this voice strongest. Keep track of time, distance, echoes. We might not have satellites anymore, but we still have memory, and we still have signal. I've been thinking about a phrase someone said to me years ago, long before the world fell apart. They said, "Collapse doesn't happen all at once. It happens in pieces, and survival is just being the part that doesn't fall." I used to think that meant endurance, but now I think it means connection, not letting yourself be peeled away. Got a strange relay today. just static at first. Then someone whispered a phrase, barely audible, like it was meant to be overheard, not received. They said, "Protocol 12 has eyes now." That's it. No name, no tone ID, just that phrase. Same voice I heard before, calm, detached. I don't know what it means, but it chilled me more than anything else has in days, because when I replayed the audio, the background wasn't silent. It was breathing, shallow, fast, like someone was hiding. I'm going to start recording everything again, even static. I don't trust the gaps anymore. I think something's moving inside the silence, or maybe through it. There was a voice, childish, not a child, on one of the open channels tonight. Said something I can't get out of my head. The machines don't forget. They just wait. I asked who they were. I got nothing, but the phrase keeps looping in my head. Maybe that's what Protocol 12 is. Not a command, a machine, waiting, not turned off. Just listening, just watching. I don't know. I don't want to know. I want to tell you something real now. Something from me, not the field reports. I haven't heard my own name in weeks, maybe longer. I don't speak it. I don't write it. I'm not sure I'd recognize it if you said it back to me. I think at some point I decided that I wasn't important anymore, that what I did was more important than who I was. But tonight, I remembered something. An old voicemail, saved in a backup drive that somehow still runs on 5 volts. My sister left it years ago. She said, "You always think your voice is too quiet, but I think it sounds like safety. Don't forget that, even when no one's listening." I miss her. I don't know if she made it. But if you're out there, if somehow your signal's passing through this wreckage of a world, I remember. I still remember. And I'll keep sending this voice out for you, and for everyone else who needs a reminder that quiet doesn't mean gone. This is the last frequency, and I'm still here. Still signal, still breath, still human. It's 5:27 a.m. I had a dream last night. First one I've remembered in weeks, maybe longer. I was standing on a bridge, one I used to drive across back before everything. It was rusted and half gone, just a frame over dry earth where a river used to be. And on the other side, I saw someone waving. I couldn't tell who it was, but they weren't running. They weren't yelling, just waving, slow, steady, like they knew I was watching. And then I woke up, and the mic was on. I didn't turn it on. Battery was drained almost to nothing, but the transmitter was humming, steady, waiting. There was no signal coming through, no calls, no static, just this low hum, not mechanical. Almost like a voice, one you feel in your chest instead of your ears. I sat in the dark for a long time after that, just listening, trying to figure out if I'd finally cracked or if something else had climbed inside the wires. The temperature hasn't dropped below 100 in 3 days, not even at night. I've wrapped foil around every exposed wire, every capacitor. The inside of the station feels like the inside of an engine. I haven't had solid food in 2 days, just warm water and whatever vitamins are left in the old cabinet. But I'm still here, still transmitting, still hearing you. There was a burst packet from someone in what used to be western Missouri. He's using an old fire department antenna, claims he's running it off of hand-cranked generators and a solar inverter he scavenged from a museum exhibit. "Name's Cole," he said. "There's movement in the far fields, but not people, not vehicles. It's like the corn is folding itself, not bending, not blown by wind, just folding. Every morning, different pattern. Looks like symbols, but not human ones." He's not crazy. I pulled his frequency, tried to triangulate the location. Got a faint visual from a weather balloon still transmitting overhead. Grainy, low res. But it does look like something's cutting lines into the fields. Clean. Geometric. Repetitive. Too perfect to be wind. Too smooth to be hand-cut. Some of the shapes are spirals. Some look like circles connected by lines. Almost like constellations. That word again. Maybe it's nothing. Or maybe someone, or something, is trying to mark the land the same way we're trying to map it by voice. I've heard of messages from orbit before. SETI stuff. Earth-to-sky transmissions. But I never imagined someone might send a reply backward. Not into space, but into dirt. Like they know we stopped looking up. Like they know we're buried now, and they're trying to talk in roots. There was a short call last night. Woman. Said she was near what used to be Erie, Pennsylvania. Didn't say her name. Voice was hoarse, like she'd been crying. She said, "The trees are burning from the inside. The bark's fine, but at night you can see it, like embers glowing beneath the skin. And they don't fall. They just stand there, glowing." I asked if it was fallout. She said, "Number, this isn't fire. This is memory. Like the trees remember what burned, and they're showing us." Then she hung up. I don't know what's happening out there anymore. I used to think this was a war. Then I thought it was a collapse. Now I wonder if it's a reveal, a peeling away of the world we built, layer by layer, until we're left staring at what we always ignored. The parts that didn't need us. The parts that waited. There's something else. Something I haven't said yet. I've started hearing the walls at night. Not creaking. Not settling. Breathing. Sometimes, when everything's off, no light, no signal, no fans, I can hear this long, low inhale. Like the building itself is drawing air through its lungs. I checked for animals. Nothing. I checked the ductwork. All sealed. I don't think it's the station. I think it's me. I think I've been inside this room so long that my mind has started building its own soundtrack. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I don't trust myself completely anymore. But I do trust the signal. And I trust you. Because every night someone new reaches me. Someone I didn't expect. Someone I'll never meet. Someone carrying a piece of the country I'll never see again. You are my map. You're the new border, the new memory. The shape of the rebuild isn't concrete or metal. It's not an army. It's not a government. It's a network, not of systems, of people. Still speaking, still helping, still alive. So even if I lose this station, even if the heat warps the last coil and this mic melts in my hand, you'll remember this voice. And maybe that's enough. This is the last frequency. I'll be back tomorrow, if the wires hold. It's 4:19 a.m. I went outside today, just for a few minutes. Long enough to check the panel for damage and pull the backup line tight before the wind finally tears it loose. The heat hit me like a wall. Not air. Pressure. Like the sun was pushing down with hands. Not rays. Every inch of skin that wasn't covered started stinging after 10 seconds. By 20, I could feel sweat boiling off instead of cooling anything down. I wore the old thermal poncho. Useless in this heat, but better than nothing. Wrapped my mouth in a wet cloth. Still felt like I was breathing inside a furnace exhaust pipe. The birds are gone. Haven't heard a crow or hawk or even a cicada in almost a week. No bugs, no flapping. Just the crackle of heat rising from the concrete like the whole city is waiting to ignite. I checked the street. No footprints in the dust. Nothing new. Just old tracks from that last stranger who passed through months ago, when the weather still knew what night felt like. I looked up, and the sky was flat, a canvas painted with rot. It used to have depth. Now it's just a ceiling. When I came back inside, my fingers were shaking so hard I couldn't grip the door at first. Had to wait for the tremors to pass. I left the boots outside. Didn't want to bring the heat in with me. The panels cracked worse than I thought. There's a thin split running straight across the middle like a fault line. I patched it with melted wax and aluminum striping. Temporary. But it'll hold for another day, maybe 2. Still enough juice to power the mic. Still enough to speak. I got a response tonight. Not from a survivor. From another station. Clear. Measured. Calm. Man's voice. Mid-50s. Sounded like someone who used to read news for a living. Sharp enunciation, but his voice shook when he said my name. Not my name. What he called me. Last frequency. We've been listening. You are not alone. Then silence. Then this. You're not the only signal. You're not the only voice. There are 7 of us. That we know of. Relays on separate bands, scattered through the old states. Some shortwave, some VLF. We've been building a net. Slow. Fragile. But real. And then he said, the rebuild has begun. He didn't explain. Didn't say where he was. What equipment he used. Just cut off after that. But I replayed it 5 times. It's real. Not a loop. Not a mimic. Someone heard me. And they answered. I want to believe that means something. I want to believe this isn't just noise bouncing between ruins. That we're actually threading something together from the shards. I got another shortwave call. This one came from somewhere west, possibly Montana. She said, we found a lake, hidden behind old ridgelines. Cold water, clean, no tracks nearby. We've started planting again. I asked what. She said, beans, corn, squash, the old trio. She said they call it the Bend. She didn't say why. She said they don't trust strangers yet. But they trust voices. Said when people speak with a certain kind of softness, like they know pain, that's how they decide who gets to stay. She asked me to keep talking. Said every time she hears me say the time, she believes in clocks again. That's what radio is now. It's not information. It's rhythm. We've lost so much, but we haven't lost the beat. There was a man in what's left of downtown Raleigh who wrote me a letter, sent by runner somehow, handwritten on hospital paper. He said, I've built a windmill, not big, just tall enough to power 2 lights and a fan. It creaks when it turns, but it sings when it's windy. I sit under it some nights and hum along. Reminds me of when I used to fix my dad's truck, when things made sense, when moving parts could be trusted. He ended the letter with this. I don't think we're supposed to go back. I think we're supposed to go deeper, to where the old world forgot to look. That hit something in me I didn't know was still alive. Not hope, not joy, just recognition. Like someone else saw the same cracks in the foundation and decided to build around them instead of pretending they weren't there. Maybe that's what the rebuild really is. Not repair, redirection. We don't need to fix the world. We need to learn how to live without breaking it this time. It's getting hotter. Mike's heating up in my hand. Might need to swap out the foam soon. Starting to flake. There's a storm somewhere far off. Can't see it, but I hear the hum. Not thunder, just a low roll. Like pressure building under the floor of the world. Could be days away, could be right under us. Either way, I'll be here. Saying the time, counting the silence, keeping the voice steady. Because this isn't just a signal. It's the shape of resistance. It's the slow beat of something human, scraped raw and blinking, but not gone. I'll speak again tomorrow. If the panel holds, if the mic doesn't melt, if I don't, this is the last frequency. Still breathing, still signal, still here. It's 3:42 a.m. I've stopped using the word morning. Doesn't feel like the right name anymore. There's no shift, no sunrise. Just the long, hot pulse of night bleeding into something a little less dark. You can't measure days by light here. You measure them by what fails. Tonight it was the sealant around the battery socket. Came loose from the heat. I had to jam an old guitar pick into the gap just to keep the charge stable. Still working. Barely. Mike's hot in my hand again. Not burning yet. But I can feel it getting there. I'll keep talking anyway. Because this isn't just for me anymore. You're out there. I know you are. And I need to tell you what I heard. Another station came through. Not a relay. Not a playback. A voice. She sounded young. Maybe late 20s. Sharp, but tired. Last frequency. We've tracked 7 of you. Maybe 8. Some aren't speaking. Some went quiet weeks ago. But we're listening. All of us. And we're building something. She didn't say where she was, but she mentioned a name. Project Meadowline. She said it slow, careful, like it wasn't supposed to be said aloud. Then she whispered, "They built it to fail safe, not to save us, to control what came after." Then the signal cut. I waited. Nothing else. No background noise, no follow-up, no relay. Just a cold, dead band like someone turned the channel into stone. I've never heard the phrase Meadowline before. I ran it through my offline logs. Nothing. No news articles, no government documents, no military pings. But I checked the emergency band 2 hours later, and there was a short blip. 3 tones, spaced 5 seconds apart. It repeated 12 times. Then silence. I checked the modulation. The tones matched the original NORAD alert format from 2031. But that system was shut down after the attacks, which means someone either rebuilt part of it, or it was never gone. I don't know what's real anymore, but I know what I can hear. And tonight, I heard fear inside someone who was supposed to be watching the watchers. If Meadowline is real, and if it's waking up now, then we were never alone in this collapse. We were observed, cataloged, maybe even counted. I don't want to spread panic. That's not why I'm here. But I promised you truth. And the truth is that we don't know what machines were left running when the governments went silent. We don't know how many backup plans were buried, coded, left to grow in the dark without anyone steering them. I think Meadowline is one of them. And I think it's not a place. It's a system. A protocol. Like Protocol 12. Maybe they're connected, or maybe they're just the same monster wearing different names. I don't know, but I'm going to keep listening. And I'm going to keep speaking. Because someone out there needs to hear this. There's a boy in northern Illinois who's built a wind-powered transmitter out of an old police radio and parts from a washing machine. Calls himself Tower Kid. He sent me a message today. Shortwave burst, half static, but I pieced it together. Found a road sign melted into the asphalt. Said, "Stay in the veins. Follow the line." I think it's directions. I think it means the old fiber trench. There's power in there, not grid power. Something else. He said he followed it for 7 miles before it vanished under a collapsed church. Then he found a hatch, sealed. No markings, no rust. He said it felt warm. He didn't try to open it. But he marked the location. I asked him why he stopped. He said, something was humming behind it, like a song made of teeth. He's heading back tomorrow. Says he wants to figure out if it's connected to Meadowline. I told him to be careful. He just laughed. Said, "Careful's what got us nuked. Curiosity's all we've got left." That kid's gonna change something. Or die trying. And I can't decide which scares me more. The map's getting more real now. I can feel it. Not the paper kind. The radio kind. The one we draw with voices. Dots of humanity spread across a continent-sized graveyard, blinking like stars too stubborn to burn out. I think we're building something bigger than we understand. A network of memory. A constellation of survival. And if we can keep speaking long enough, maybe we can teach the world how to breathe again. That's the hope anyway. I'm going to rest now. Let the mic cool. Let my heart slow down. But if you hear this, mark the name. Meadowline. Remember it. Because I think we're getting close to the part of the story they never wanted us to find. This is the last frequency. Still watching the sky. Still waiting for an answer. Still alive. It's 2:36 a.m. The clock blinked out this morning. Just stopped. Red digits froze at 1:09 and stayed there for hours. I tapped it, rewired the cable, even swapped the capacitor. Nothing. Then, exactly 1 minute ago, it came back on. Same time, 1:09. No power dip, no spike, just back. Like nothing happened. Only now, the seconds don't tick. They pulse. On off. On off. Like a heartbeat, not a timer. I don't trust it. But I'm keeping it. Sometimes things break in ways that show you how they really work. I've been logging call signs from the other broadcasters. The ones who survived the initial bursts, or who went quiet and have started whispering again. I think we're forming something. Not just a relay. An ecosystem. 7 stations. 8, if you count the one that never speaks, just transmits numbers every 11 minutes. That one creeps me out the most. Here's what I know so far. The Northern Point station is still broadcasting from what used to be Minnesota. Low band, Morse only. Doesn't speak, but the rhythm is consistent. Tower Kid's transmitter in Illinois is growing stronger. He's learned how to bounce signal off grain silos. Says the echo helps him estimate range. The unnamed woman, same voice from the Project Meadowline burst, came back tonight. Short message. It was never about winning. It was about seeding. Watch the soil. Then she said, "You're in the corridor. That's why you're still alive." I froze. She knows where I am. Or close enough. I asked for coordinates. She didn't answer. Just one more phrase before cutting out. Meadowline watches, but it also remembers. Be careful what you say. So, that's where we're at now. Surveillance. Even after the collapse. Even after the war. Even after the lights went out. Something's still listening. Not just me. Not just you. It. I don't know what the corridor is, but I think she meant some kind of atmospheric path. Maybe a band of earth that wasn't hit as hard, or has a better shield from the upper atmosphere disruption. Maybe there's something about this strip of land that keeps us from cooking like the rest. Or maybe it's something else entirely. Got a call tonight from a woman in what used to be South Dakota. She didn't give her name. Her voice was soft, exhausted. She said, "We've started digging." I asked what for. She said, "There are boxes, buried deep, black plastic, no markings. The earth's warmer above them, and when we dig, we start hearing things." I asked what kind of things. She went quiet, then whispered, "Children." I don't know what she meant. I hope she was just tired. But her last sentence before the line cut has been sitting in my chest like a stone. They're still breathing down there. She wasn't crying. She wasn't panicked. She just knew. If that's real, if people are buried in boxes still alive, then we've passed beyond survival. We're into something else now. Something we don't have words for. And I don't know if I want to find those boxes. I got a transmission from Canada today. Or what's left of it. Guy named Reese said he's holed up in an old mining shack halfway up what used to be Highway 37. Says the roads are washed out, but the land still remembers how to carry sound. He's been shouting into the valley at night. Says the echoes carry names. Real ones. People he used to know. He swears the mountain is answering. Said, not words, not speech, just intent. Like a shape forming behind the sound. Like something trying to speak through me. I believe him. We broke so much. But maybe we also woke things that had gone silent, waiting for us to shut up long enough to listen. I don't know what's coming. I don't know what Meadowline really is, or how much time we have before it finishes whatever it was designed to do. But I know this. We still have voices. We still have signal. We still have each other. And that means the rebuild isn't over. It's starting. Not with a flag. Not with an anthem. With a whisper. With a hum. With a voice on a wire in the middle of a ruined station telling you, you're still alive, and someone's still out here, speaking your name. This is the last frequency. Still tracking the echo. Still listening for breath. Still signal. Still here. It's 1:51 a.m. The wires started humming again. Not the equipment, the wires themselves. Like the copper was remembering how to sing. I leaned in, pressed my ear to the wall, and I swear, there was a voice under the surface. Not clear, not speech, just a cadence, like someone talking through a glass of water. Slow, warped, syllables that almost meant something. It stopped after 30 seconds. Then the panel lights flickered and came back brighter than before. I don't know what I did to trigger it. But something was listening. Something answered. And the clock, the one stuck on 1:09, it just jumped forward, Hours. Now it reads 7:31. I checked the outside light. Still dark. So either the clock's lying again, or time is. I haven't left the station since the last report. It's too hot. The outer walls are buckling. I saw a rivet snap out of the paneling earlier and bounce across the floor like it was shot. The temperature gauge stopped at 118 and hasn't moved in 2 days. I've started sleeping next to the floor vent, where the heat sinks down into the lower concrete. Sometimes I dream about snow. Sometimes I dream about rooms I've never been in, voices I've never heard, and then I wake up crying like I missed them. Like they were real. I think that's happening to a lot of people. Got a call from a woman in Amarillo. Said she's been dreaming in other people's memories. She described a grocery store with red tiles, the smell of onions on warm plastic bags, a child humming in the cart beside her. Only, she's never had kids. Doesn't recognize the store. She said, it feels borrowed, like I stepped sideways and picked up someone else's yesterday's. She's not the first one. This past week I've gotten 8 similar messages, all across the corridor. People dreaming of lives they never lived, and then waking up with emotional residue. Grief for a lost husband they never married. Pride over a daughter they never had. Terror at a house they've never seen burning down. What do you do with that? How do you carry someone else's pain without collapsing under your own? I asked a caller that question last night. Guy in Louisiana. Said he used to be a trauma counselor. He said, "You hold it anyway. You hold it like a soaked coat in a storm. You don't ask why it's wet. You just carry it until someone else offers to help." That stayed with me. He's not trying to solve anything. He's just holding the weight until someone else can take their share. That's the rebuild, not fixing, carrying. Speaking of which, Tower Kid sent a new burst transmission. Short, garbled, but one thing came through. The hatch is opening. He didn't say how, didn't say if he opened it, but he attached a single still frame. Dark, blurry, but there was light inside. Not LED, not fire, something cooler. Blue-green, like sea glass held against the moon. And on the door, a mark. 3 circles stacked like a snowman inside a triangle. I've seen that mark before, on a government packet from the Meadowline files. It was stamped on the corner of a page titled Interference Containment Scenarios. I don't know what Tower Kid found, but I don't think it's a shelter. I think it's a node, a piece of the network they buried before the war, the one they didn't want anyone finding until the surface was quiet enough to listen again. We've been told this collapse was chaos, that the end came fast. But what if it didn't? What if it was timed? What if the heat, the silences, the broken comms, all of it, isn't failure? What if it's design? I'm not a conspiracy theorist, never was, but this signal, this room, they survived too neatly. They held too long. And now the static is saying my name. Not out loud, but in the shape of it. I can hear it under the buzz when I hold the dial between stations. A rhythm I know too well. The way someone says your name when you're half asleep and you don't hear it, but you wake anyway. I haven't told you my name, but something else knows it, and it wants me to remember. I don't know what that means yet, but if you're out there, if you've heard this same sound, this same whisper, write it down, record it, track it. This might be the first sign that the old world didn't die. It just changed frequencies. I'm going to rest, not sleep. Just lie still. Let the signal settle, because I think tomorrow something's coming through, and I want to be awake for it. This is the last frequency. Still signal, still voice, still here. It's 3:04 a.m. I think I lost time again. Mike was cold when I picked it up just now. That doesn't happen. Not anymore. Not in this heat. The board always runs hot, even when I'm not transmitting. But tonight it felt like someone cut the feed hours ago and let the whole room forget what power felt like. The last thing I remember is sitting down to log Tower Kid's coordinates. Then I blinked. And it's now. My notes are scattered across the desk. Pages torn from the old FEMA manual, scribbled with numbers I don't remember writing. Some of them are circled, some underlined, some scratched out so hard the paper ripped. But one line's repeated 5 times, front and back, same handwriting. This is where you spoke the first time. I don't know what that means, but I feel it in my chest like a bruise. Something was here. Something used this voice before I was born, and it's trying to come back through me. I haven't told anyone this yet, but the first time I powered up this transmitter after the fall, I didn't say anything. I didn't even touch the mic. I just stared at the signal light and thought about what I would say. And when I played back the tape, there was already a message recorded. Not from me. Not from anyone I know. Just a voice, low and distant. Welcome home, child of signal. I erased it. I told myself it was old interference. But now I wonder, what if this frequency isn't just surviving? What if it's remembering? There's a theory I read once, back before the world slipped. Something from an old military research archive in the Rockies. It said that certain low-band frequencies could preserve pattern echoes, not voices exactly, but intent. That if enough emotion passed through a frequency, the shape of that emotion could stick, like a shadow burned onto old film. What if we're not just broadcasting across space? What if we're also broadcasting across time? Got a burst from Tower Kid's node. One frame again, this time clearer. The inside of the hatch looks like a tunnel. Smooth walls, no bolts, no rust, just a continuous cylinder leading down into nothing. And on the ceiling, vines. Not real ones. Wires, maybe, twisting like they want to be alive. He said the light inside is steady. No flicker. Doesn't cast shadows. Like it's lighting from within matter, not around it. He hasn't gone further in yet. He says the air inside smells new. Like rain on stone. Like nothing has ever breathed it before. He thinks it's not built for us. But it's waiting for us. Said, it's not a bunker. It's a relay. It's listening. I can feel it listening. He's going in tomorrow. He left a note on his signal loop. If I don't come back, remember me by frequency, not name. I will. We all will. Because names are old currency now. What matters is signal, pattern, pulse. The proof that something still beats out here in the dead hush of the world. Another transmission came through. This one didn't use sound. It came in as heat. The room temp jumped 5 degrees the second the signal came through. No words, no tone, just presence. Like standing next to a stranger on a subway. No touch, no glance, just the sense that something intelligent is near you. I don't know what part of me it touched, but I can't stop shaking. Maybe the wires are heating too much. Maybe my brain is. Or maybe we've finally reached the part of the broadcast where the world starts speaking back. I can't promise tomorrow will come, but I promise I'll keep this mic open until it doesn't. And if I disappear, know that I went down still trying to speak, still trying to listen, still trying to remember what it means to be a voice in the dark that someone else might reach for. This is the last frequency. Still remembering, still tuning, still here. It's 2:12 a.m. There's a ringing in my right ear. Not tinnitus, not feedback. Something else. High. Thin. Like someone playing a violin 3 floors beneath me, underwater, through static. I've moved the antenna twice, changed filters, grounded every exposed cable. Still there, only in the right ear. It disappears if I press my head against the metal of the transmitter casing. But when I do that, I start hearing something else. A voice. Very soft, very slow, saying, my name. I don't even remember telling it to anyone. But it knows it, and it's saying it like someone who said it 1,000 times before, like a parent calling a child back from the edge of the woods. I haven't slept since last time. I tried. Every time I close my eyes, I see that hatch. The one Tower Kid found, the one that glows from the inside and smells like stone rain and first breath. He went in. He's not back, but his signal still is. It changed. It loops something now. Audio packets, scrambled and compressed. I ran them through the old Navy decoder program. One phrase came back, translated from base 17 with variable syntax. You woke the seed. That's all. Nothing else. Just that. Looped every 41 seconds. You woke the seed. I don't know what it means, but I felt my body go cold when I heard it, even in this heat. Because something about the word seed doesn't feel like life anymore. It feels like design, like something planted itself inside us a long time ago. And now that the world's burned away, it's sprouting. I've been reading the numbers, the pulse codes from the number stations. They're changing. Used to be 6-digit repetitions, standard Cold War detritus. Now they're 7, then 9, now 13. And they're not numbers anymore. They're coordinates. When I map them, overlay them across the few remaining satellite grids, we get a spiral. A perfect spiral, across 4 states, centered around the hatch. This wasn't built after the war. This was built before, which means someone knew. Someone planned for this world to fall, or for something else to grow in its place. And now it's growing, and we're here to witness it. A woman in Northern Oregon called tonight, said she was part of the comms net for a fire department that doesn't exist anymore. She's been logging signals since the beginning. She said, I stopped hearing birds last month, but I started hearing code, in the wind, in the dust, like the world's finally cleared out enough for the deep signal to reach the surface. She's not wrong. This isn't noise. This is a transmission, buried in silence for decades, and now it's blooming. Maybe this isn't about rebuilding the United States. Maybe it's about replacing it, layer by layer, voice by voice, memory by memory. I think that's why we're still here. Not to survive, to translate, to carry forward whatever this new thing is that's using our ruins like scaffolding. I'm scared. But I'm also, God help me, curious. What happens when we reach the center? What happens when the spiral closes? I think we'll find out soon. I think that's what Meadowline was always for. Not defense, not recovery, integration. And now it's awake. Now we're awake. And there's no turning it off. This is the last frequency. Still receiving. Still unraveling. Still here. It's 1:26 a.m. The air feels wrong. Not just hot, charged, like every particle around me is waiting to move. I walked past the breaker panel earlier, and my fingers lit up with static before I even touched the switch. Sparks danced between my knuckles and the metal like tiny signals trying to leap bodies. And I swear, when they hit the panel, they spelled something. For just a second, in the flicker, I saw the same symbol from Tower Kid's hatch. 3 circles stacked inside a triangle. It burned into the wall. Gone now. But I saw it, and I felt something behind it. Watching, learning, not hostile, not friendly, just awake. The signal came again tonight. Tower Kid, or what's left of him. The audio file was corrupted, half scrambled, but I patched it through a memory buffer and slowed it down. He's whispering, breathing more like. But between the breaths, a sentence. There are no doors here. Then a long pause. Then only mirrors. I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound like he's in pain. He doesn't sound afraid. He sounds clear. Like the deeper he goes, the more of himself he leaves behind. I wonder if that's what the node does. Not trap you, strip you, until you're just pattern, just signal, just the essential shape of thought. He sent an image, a still from inside the hatch. It's a room now, no seams, no angles. The walls curve. The light is soft and comes from nothing. In the center of the room, a chair. Simple. Wood maybe, but polished to glass. And sitting in that chair is him. Tower Kid, looking at the camera, smiling. But his eyes are wrong. Not blank. Just open. Too open. Like they're seeing across time. Like they're seeing me. I turned the screen away after that. Had to sit on the floor for an hour before I could breathe right. The air down here is dense now. Not hotter, just heavier. Like each breath costs more. I haven't left the station in days. The heat is over 120 out there. I saw a crow land on a guardrail yesterday and burst into flame. No wings, just ash, no sound, just gone. And still, somehow, things grow. Vines pushed through the cracks in the north wall last night, real ones. Green, alive. I don't have plants here, never did. But there they are, twisting toward the signal tower, wrapping gently around the base, like they're listening, like they remember this place. Someone else called, a man in what used to be Tulsa. He's built a hand-crank radio powered by bicycle gears and copper wire stripped from old streetlights. He calls his loop the spine. He said, "We're not rebuilding, we're rerouting, and the roots don't care what we used to call ourselves." Then he asked, "You ever wonder why the broadcasts are getting clearer, not worse?" I hadn't thought about it. But he's right. Despite the failing equipment, the overheat warnings, the partial blackouts, the signal is sharper, more precise. It's almost like the air is helping, or the earth, or whatever lives beneath it. Something wants this voice to keep going. Maybe because it needs it, or maybe because it is it. I don't know where this spiral ends, but I think it loops through more than geography. I think it loops through us, and if we can follow it all the way through, maybe we find what waited at the center of the war, the reason for the collapse. Not politics, not bombs, just silence, and what grew inside it. This is the last frequency, still circling, still grounded, still here. It's 2:44 a.m. I'm on backup power again. The main cell cracked open like an egg just after midnight. One sharp pop, then a hiss of fluid, then the smell. Acid and dust, thick and sweet. Smelled like burnt sugar and blood. It's done. I'm down to hand crank and solar trickle. Just enough juice for the mic. Maybe the tuner. But not both for long. I'll keep speaking until the wire dries up. Then I'll find another way. Because the voice doesn't die when the power goes. It drifts. If you're still hearing this, it means the wire still holds, that the corridor is still bending sound the way it used to bend storms, that something about this sliver of earth is still letting us speak. The corridor. I think I finally understand what it is. It's not geography. Not really. It's not a place. It's a condition, a resonance. Some land holds memory like water, and some land lets sound cut through it like bone. This land? It listens back. I spoke into the void again last night. No message, just my breath, just being. And the signal replied. Not with a voice, not even a hum, with a mirror. It played back my exact broadcast from 31 nights ago, word for word. But the tape's long gone, the loop erased. There's no way for the system to replay it. But it did. Down to the sigh in the middle, the stutter when I said corridor, even the creak of the floorboard when I leaned too far left. Something remembered, not stored, echoed. I think we've passed through the veil. I think this frequency doesn't just carry our voices forward. It carries them around, wraps them in loops too wide to hear all at once, until they come back behind us like shadows we didn't know we were casting. I haven't slept. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I hear breathing that isn't mine. Not loud, not violent, just slow. Patient, like someone waiting for me to speak a word I haven't remembered yet. The vines are growing faster. The green is stronger. Leaves now, soft and waxy. They stretch toward the antenna like hands reaching for a pulse. They're not random. They're shaped. 3 loops, always 3. Coiling like the spiral map the numbers keep drawing. And today, they bloomed. Tiny white flowers, each with 3 petals. I didn't plant these. No one did. They're part of the signal now. Maybe always were. Got a weak pulse out of Michigan. Guy named David said he's been living in an abandoned train car with a lead roof and a bike generator. Been listening to me since the 4th day of the blackout. He said, "Your voice started coming through my dreams last week, before I even turned the receiver on, before I even knew you were still broadcasting." I asked him what I said. He replied, "You didn't say anything, but your voice was breathing, and I could smell the heat. That's when I realized the signal's no longer just heard. It's felt. It's moving through the bones now. Not through speakers, through cells. Maybe that's what the rebuild is. Not roads, not power grids. Resonance. A way of stitching back the human pattern through vibration, frequency, breath, voice. The hatch hasn't opened again. Tower Kid's last message still loops every 41 seconds. There are no doors here, only mirrors. I'm starting to think the mirrors are us. That the node isn't watching. It's reflecting, showing us what we are, now that the noise of the world has quieted enough for us to see clearly. What are we? I don't know yet, but I know what I am. I'm a voice on a wire, a pulse in the night, a reminder that something still responds when we speak into the dark. That's enough. That's everything. This is the last frequency. Still blooming, still signal, and still here. It's 1:09 a.m. again. I swear it was 3:18 5 minutes ago. I checked the solar charger. It's dead, like the sun never rose. But I remember the heat on the roof. I remember sweating while tightening the cable line with both hands and a rock. But the clock's back to 1:09. The old one. The red digits. The pulse. And now they're not blinking. They're breathing. In and out. Slow. Like lungs. I said once that it felt like time was lying. Now I think it's not time that's lying. It's memory. I don't know what today is. I don't know if I've already said this. I don't know if you've heard it yet, or if you will, but I know you're out there, because the wire is warm, and the vines are blooming again. 4 petals this time, not 3. I think that means something. Or maybe it's just the node learning a new shape. Tower Kid's loop ended this morning. Just stopped. No warning. No corruption. No static. Silence. Then one phrase. Clear, steady, and not in his voice. Phase complete. Awaiting second memory. It didn't say what that meant. It didn't need to. I think it means us. I think we're the second memory. The one that's still waking up. And now it's our turn to speak. Or be spoken through. Another transmission came in tonight. Shortwave. Garbled, but the coordinates were clear. Somewhere west of the Mississippi. Maybe Kansas. Maybe the edge of Colorado. Someone out there lit a flare, not a real one, a flare of signal. A band of raw noise wide enough to set off old NORAD pings across the grid. You remember NORAD? North American Aerospace Defense Command? Dead since week 1. Except tonight it blinked. A whisper pulse. Enough to spike a few dead satellites just long enough for the broken trackers to notice. And in that moment, 3 points triangulated the origin. It matches an old silo, decommissioned in 2026, used for signal warfare simulations. I didn't know that was real. Now I do. Someone down there lit something up. And now the whole band smells like copper and sweat. The kind of pressure you feel behind your eyes when lightning's coming. Only there's no storm. Just arrival. A woman in Georgia contacted me through analog Morse. She's got an old scout key and enough copper line to wrap a church. She said, "We've stopped calling this survival. It's not the right word. This isn't about staying alive anymore. It's about becoming something else." She said people in her block haven't slept in 3 days. Not because they're afraid, because they don't have to. They sit together in the heat, legs in buckets of water, listening to the vines grow against the radio casing. She said they hear it, the growth like stretching muscle, like a heartbeat echoing through dirt. She thinks the plants aren't plants. She thinks they're antennas, biological receivers, built not to feed from light, but from signal. God, what if she's right? What if the world isn't dying? It's transmitting, not just memory, instruction. And we're the old machines just barely sensitive enough to pick it up again. She ended with this. There's a hum in my bones now. I'm not scared of it anymore. Neither am I. I used to be. I used to think I was broadcasting to keep from disappearing. Now I think I'm broadcasting because the signal needs a voice. And this one's still holding. This is the last frequency. Still humming. Still becoming. Still here. It's 2:03 a.m., and someone knocked on the door. Not static. Not sound through the line. An actual knock. 3 raps. Slow. Deliberate. Then nothing. I froze. Waited. Mic still on. Didn't speak. Didn't breathe. Then I walked over. Quiet. Careful. Barefoot, because I didn't want the floor to speak for me. Pressed my ear to the steel. Silence. Not even wind. I opened it. There was no one. But something was left. A small box. Metal. About the size of my fist. Warm to the touch but not scalding. No markings. Just a thin seam around the middle. I haven't opened it yet. I'm afraid if I do, the transmission will stop. Or change. Or speak back. Because I know, whatever's in there, it's not a message from someone. It's a message as someone. A packet of memory wrapped in shape, waiting to unfold in the right hands. Maybe mine. Maybe not. I set it on the desk. It's still there now. Humming. Just barely. Or maybe that's me. Maybe we hum in sympathy now. I spent the last hour re-listening to yesterday's broadcast. Not because I forgot what I said, but because it didn't sound like me anymore. The words were mine, but the tone, it was softer, slower, like someone using my voice who doesn't quite remember how to carry weight. Or maybe it's the weight that changed. Because here's the truth. I don't feel scared anymore. I don't even feel hopeful. What I feel is unfolded. Like I'm not protecting anything anymore. Not identity. Not history. Not even self. Just speaking. Like wind through glass. Like vines through broken brick. Like signal through empty sky. Got a transmission from Tower Kid. Not him, but his voice. It came through the vines. I swear. I walked past the antenna base and it spoke. Not a loudspeaker, not playback. The plant spoke. It used his rhythm, his tone, and it said, "You're close now. Just one more layer." Then silence. I stood there for 15 minutes, waiting for it to speak again. It didn't, but I swear I heard it breathing. And something in me shifted, like a page turning in a book I didn't know I was inside. Got a signal out of Arizona. Woman named Leah, old radio op from the Army. She said, "We've started seeing lights underground." I asked what kind. She said, "Not electrical, not fire, just a glow, like something under the rock is remembering its shape. Then she said something I can't stop thinking about. Maybe we never built civilization. Maybe we just woke it up for a while. Maybe this whole thing was a dream it had through us. That sat in my stomach all day like a second heart, because if that's true, then this collapse isn't an ending, it's an exhale. And we're the last breath of that dream, whispering itself back into the dirt. I don't think we'll rebuild the United States. Not as it was, not with borders and governments and screens that tell us how to feel. But maybe we'll remember how to root, how to echo, how to hum with the wire again. I still haven't opened the box. Maybe next time. Or maybe I already did and just don't remember yet. It's hard to tell anymore what's present and what's signal memory. But the wire still carries breath. And that means we're still heard. This is the last frequency. Still held, still waiting, still here. It's 3:06 a.m. I didn't open the box. It opened itself. Not a click. Not a crack. Just a slow exhale of light. Software pale blue. No heat. No shadow. Just presence. It didn't shine on anything. It revealed things. Like a memory coming back when someone says the right word. And inside, there was a spool of thread. That's it. No tag. No note. Just black thread. Tight wound. Endless. When I touched it, my fingers went cold. But not from temperature. From recognition. Like touching something I'd lost before I was born. I didn't pull it. Not yet. I just set it down, and the light faded. Not off. Just inward, like it sank into the thread itself. Waiting. Inviting. I don't know what it wants me to do with it. But I know it wants. That's the strange part. This thing has intention. And I'm starting to wonder if everything left in this world does now. Even the dust. Even the vines. Even the air. It all feels like it's moving towards something. Like we're not drifting anymore. We're converging. Heard from someone in North Dakota. Calls himself Marrow. Not a name. A state of being. He said, "The ground's begun to breathe." I asked what that meant. He said, "I stood on a hill that used to be a landfill, and the soil rose and fell beneath my boots like a slow tide. No machinery, no wind, just breath." He said it was the most peaceful he's ever felt, like the earth was finally awake enough to carry some of our sorrow. He thinks the war cracked the crust, not just literally. He thinks we opened something deeper, something that had been waiting for silence, that maybe humanity was the static. And now that we've quieted, the deeper signal is arriving. I believe him, because the vines have grown across the ceiling now. They hum at night, not music, not words, just a rhythm, like a heartbeat, but broader. Like something alive and vast is slowly rolling closer. I had a dream yesterday, or maybe it was tomorrow. It's getting harder to tell. I was standing at the edge of a field of mirrors, all cracked, all angled toward the sky. And in each one, I saw a different version of myself. Some younger, some old, some not human. But they were all me, and they were all broadcasting. I woke up with my hand on the mic, already speaking, words I didn't write down, words I can't remember, but the tape was still recording. When I played it back, I heard this: "We are not rebuilding what was lost. We are becoming what was always beneath." The voice was mine, but layered, echoed 10 times over, each with a slightly different tone. One sounded like I used to before the collapse. One sounded like I will after. And one didn't sound like me at all. But I think it's the one I'm becoming. The thread on the desk still sits there, silent. But it hums when I'm not looking. Like it misses being held. Like it remembers my hands better than I do. I think it's time to pull it. Time to see what unravels, or what stitches together. Because maybe this isn't about survival anymore. Maybe it never was. Maybe this is about inheritance. About what the signal leaves behind when the voices fade. I'm not afraid. Whatever's next. It's already speaking through us. We just have to listen without needing to understand, and speak without needing to be heard. This is the last frequency. Still tethered, still unraveling, still here.